Visit us today at NJ Trim Play.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
Happy Monday, everybody. The Sports Bash is live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. We are live at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, where I'm interested to see what the Eagles' odds look like now. Green Bay loses this weekend. Detroit loses this weekend. The Eagles don't play, and they're now the number one seed in the NFC. They also made not one but two trades this weekend. One on Saturday, acquiring two-time Pro Bowl cornerback Jaire Alexander. And then this morning, early in the morning, Howie Roseman's making moves. He ends up getting Jaelan Phillips, the edge rusher from the Miami Dolphins, and we got that for you live today on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Sixers with a easy win last night over the Nets without Joel Embiid. Flyers lost. Nuggets and I went to the Temple game this weekend. That was a story in itself. Then Nuggets shot over to the Flyer game on Saturday. He tried to get me to head over there. I had no interest in that.
I was very impressed with Nuggets. His stamina going from...
I could have gone. I just didn't have any interest in the game because I wanted to watch the World Series.
That was probably a good call, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not watching Flyers-Leafs over Game 7 of the World Series. That's a terrible decision by Nuggets. I don't care if you got free tickets or not. Flyers game against the Leafs versus Game 7 of the World Series, and you're supposed to be a baseball fan? Awful decision.
Well, did you see, real quick, over the weekend, Edmonton Oilers, they were playing their game, and they were airing the World Series with the sound on in the arena.
I didn't know they had the sound on.
Yeah, they had the sound on during, like, the TV timeouts. And
that's awesome.
McDavid came out. He's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm pretty distracted on the bench. You know, I'm all for it, but.
That's great.
Yeah.
My cousin actually asked me if I wanted to go to the Flyer game, and I was like, dude, no interest. Nuggets called me in the morning. Now, we had talked on Friday night. Because he was hosting the locker room Saturday and Sunday, I said, listen, if you want, you can stay at my house. Because Nuggets is like an hour away from the station. So I was like, if you want, you could stay at my house, and this way you don't have to, like, drive all the way back and then back again. So he was like, okay, cool. So after the locker room on Saturday, he came to my house, and I had to drive my girlfriend to the airport. So she went to East Carolina. So East Carolina was playing Temple at the Link. So I said, why don't we just go to the Temple game?
Without your girlfriend. That's a good boyfriend move by you.
Absolutely.
Supporting the team.
So I went and watched the game, and then he was like, somebody asked me if I wanted to go to the Flyers game tonight. And I'm like, yeah, no interest. Not interested in the slate. Because I originally thought, hey, why don't we do the double dip?
Right.
Like, hey, Nuggets, I'll do the double dip. And then I saw Game 7. Once the win on Friday night happened, I said, yeah, no Flyers.
That's the unconventional double dip. The
right, that's a
world.
Temple Flyers Philly tuxedo.
Yeah, it's a bizarro world double dip.
But then on Saturday, as I'm driving home, so I drove home by myself because Nuggets met up with a bunch of guys that I don't know who went to the game with, but he was getting a ride back down to my house. So I drove me and him up to the Temple game. Then he went to the Flyers game with somebody else. Then they drove him to my house.
Oh, so we did make it back to your house.
Yeah, he stayed at my house on Saturday night. But I came back down on my way home after the Temple game was over. I had a little time to kill, so I hit a couple breweries up on the way home and stopped in for a quick little one-hop here and a one-hop there, then came home to watch Game 7 because I figured, listen, I got till 8 o'clock. I got a little time to kill. Bang, bang, hit a couple of breweries. Nothing big. I had like 2 9-ouncers, and then I head home. Nuggets got to my house, and you know what happened? As soon as Nuggets knocked on my door, like literally, knock, Jeff Hoffman gave up the home run. Okay. I said, everything was going good until you showed up. You and your stupid Flyers game.
Wearing his Philly tuxedo.
Oh, he had a Sixers hat on.
Did he have a Temple stuff
Nah,
on?
we did go through the Temple. By the way, I mean, I know the Eagles made a trade, and we're going to get into that. That's a sad situation. That's the saddest college football experience I've ever seen in my life. Seriously, like I feel bad for the people, the kids that play there, the crowd that goes there. Think about this. East Carolina is a 6.5-hour drive to Temple. And they had probably just as many people there, which isn't saying much, that Temple did. Like, they got to get out of that stadium. It is horrible that that's what those poor kids, their college football experience is that. They're playing in a 65,000-seat stadium with 5,000 people there. It's so bad. Like, they would be better off calling Rowan and being like, hey, can we use Dick Wacker Stadium? That's the name of the stadium.
I was going to say, yeah. That.
Like, they would be better off doing that, finding some Division II or III school in the area and just saying, hey, can we play at your facility? It's terrible for those kids. I feel terrible for the PA announcer. Like, he's doing, it's third down. There's nobody there. Like, not one reaction. The poor girl who's like the on-field MC, it's awful. Come on, Temple fans, let me hear it. And there's like,
it's that bad, huh?
It's that bad. I feel terrible. And they're a decent team. They're not awful.
They're going to be bowl eligible.
No, they got killed on Saturday by East Carolina.
Right, 45-14.
But I think Casey Keeler's a good coach. I think they got their bleep together with the coach and all that stuff. The situation with the stadium needs to be changed. You can't keep playing. I said, what does it cost to open that place on Saturday? Now, most of the places you can't even go in. You can only go in a handful of entrances. Most of the concession stands are closed. Like, I said, what does it cost East Carolina to get to Philadelphia, the whole team, all their stuff? Like, they're probably taking a loss every time they open that place up. That's neither here nor there. I'm sure Nuggets will bring it up during the Nuggets today. The Eagles make this trade today for Jaelan Phillips. Let me describe to you how I see this trade, okay? Did you watch the World Series game on Saturday night?
Sure did.
Or was it Friday night?
Friday night, yep, sure did.
Both games.
Game 6 and Game 7.
Yeah, you watched both.
Yep.
I describe the Jaelan Phillips trade as this. It's the ground rule double that got stuck in the fence, like in the wall there.
Okay.
You still hit a double. You still have a runner on second and third, but it can be bigger. Like, it could have been bigger.
Trey Hendrickson would have been a home run there.
Trey Hendrick, but so if the ball doesn't get stuck, like both guys came around to score, by the way, if you noticed. Barger kept come running because the guy just let the ball stick in the thing. But to me, this is a ground rule double. You had a guy on first base. You got Jaire Alexander. You knocked him over, but because it's a ground rule double, he couldn't come around to score. That's why the ground rule double, it usually hurts you, but it doesn't hurt you. But normally when the ground rule double happens, somebody could have scored, and he has to end up going back to the base. The runner would have scored from first base on that, but because the ball got stuck, he had to get returned to third base. That's, to me, the trade for Jaelan Phillips. If he's healthy and he can still play, he has had a Achilles injury. He's had an ACL injury. There's a reason why his numbers aren't great. If you just said, hey, I never heard of this guy, I just want to go look at his numbers, they're okay. Can he still rush the passer at an elite level? Do the Eagles look at him as a major upgrade? Whose snaps is he? There's a whole heck of a lot here. Is he still a pretty good player? I would imagine so. The Eagles gave up a third-round pick to get him. Now, this is where this is interesting. They had 3 third-round picks. They're giving up – well, they're going to have 3 third-round picks because there's going to be a comp pick coming back to them for Milton Williams. So they'll have 3 third-round picks. And Josh Sweat, I think, is projected to be a 4th-round comp pick.
And then Becton is in there. That's a 5th.
He's a 5th.
That's a 5th, yeah.
That's the projections. Now, this is why this is interesting. Jaelan Phillips is different than the trades that they've made in the past, where generally they give up a low draft pick, and it's just a guy, and he's a 1-year guy, and then he goes. Jaelan Phillips is a candidate to get extended. He's going to be a free agent, but he's 26 or 27 years old. He might be the kind of guy that you would want to sign. They gave up a 3rd-round pick to get him, but if they let him walk at the end of the year, the comp pick goes to the Eagles, and they would get a 3rd-round pick. So essentially, they would get him for free.
For free.
Right? I mean, the 3rd-round pick they gave up to get him if they let him walk. Now, they could sign him, and in that case, that means he had a pretty good year. And you gave up a 3rd-round pick to get a pass rusher, right? And, look, everybody's looking for pass rush. How many people out there, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973, how many people out there look at this draft pick as the difference maker for their defense? Like, now they've got their guy. That they now have, I don't want to say an elite pass rusher. He's not T.J. Watt. He's not Trey Hendrickson. He's not Aiden Hutchinson. He's not Myles Garrett. But he's like probably, I don't know, Josh, would you put him in the next tier below them or even a tier below that?
I mean, to me, if you're talking about a guy like Phillips, I don't think he's anywhere close to a Myles Garrett.
No, that's what I said. I said he's not in that level. Is he in the next tier below the guys I just mentioned, or is he another tier below that?
I think he's closer to a guy like Josh Sweat.
Okay, so he's probably like 2 tiers below the elite guys.
Right.
Which is still an upgrade to what you have. That's the point.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Is this an upgrade over Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith? Because now the question would be, who's playing time? And by the way, what happens to Jahad Campbell now? What happens to, you've got Jalix Hunt, you've got Nolan Smith, you've now got Jaelan Phillips, you've got Uche,
BJ,
and Brandon Graham. Those 5 guys would probably be your edge rushers now as long as they stay healthy.
My working theory about Phillips is I don't think he's actually going to start. I think he's going to be part of the rotation because of the fact of, you mentioned the injury history before. This is a guy who has had some health problems, and I think they want to keep him on a pitch count.
So if you just got a guy who's essentially part of a rotation, you gave up a 3rd-round pick, is that a good deal?
Yeah, because his upside is tremendous. His potential is so high that when Jaelan Phillips plays up to the level of what he's capable of, he's worth more than a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, he's been great when he's healthy. His problem is he's been hurt. Now,
correct.
He did play for Vic Fangio when Vic Fangio was in Miami.
That's the caveat for me.
And he had his best season with Vic Fangio.
That's it right there.
By the way, both guys they acquired the last few days, Alexander and Phillips, both have experience with coaches on this staff. I have to assume that that's a lot of the reason why these guys are here.
Well, Jaire Alexander, by the way, okay, this one's interesting because he has been a healthy inactive for a Baltimore defense, which stinks. He's played 2 games. He's been hurt a lot in years past.
Correct.
There's a lot of people this offseason who wanted the Eagles to sign Jaire Alexander this offseason as the replacement for Darius Slay. So they did not get him. He signed with
Baltimore,
and people were like, man, that would have been a good fit here. Christian Parker is the Eagles' secondary coach.
Correct.
He is the guy who coached Jaire Alexander when he was with Green Bay.
And when he was a Pro Bowler.
He was a 2-time Pro Bowl player with Green Bay. So Jaire Alexander has been a really good player. He is only 28 years old. Have the injuries caught up to him so much that he is no longer a viable starting corner in this league? That's what you have to ask. The one question would be, why is Baltimore, a defense that's been terrible this year, why were they not using him?
My working theory is that he was just a bad fit. His skill set, and you could judge Baltimore, say they should have known that before they signed him, but Baltimore has a history of going out and getting these random corners at different points in their career. So to me, I felt like Baltimore was like, look, we're going to try to bring this guy in, see if he fits, and they found he didn't fit, and they were like, you know what, never mind.
And again, that's basically you get him for free, right? The comp,
that one you got for free.
I mean, the comp was a pick swap.
Not for, I mean, free, but they gave up, what, a sixth?
A pick swap,
It's a
6th
swap.
for a 7th, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that one, essentially, yes. That one is worth taking the flyer. Now the question is, you've got Adoree Jackson, Kaylee Ringo, Michael Carter. Now, Michael Carter's more of a slot guy, but my point is you got this room of all these guys, Jacorian Bennett, and now Jaire Alexander. Like, is this going to be, hey, you're here, we have practice, and everybody go out there and battle? Like, is this akin to, hey, we just won a training camp battle and more competition should bring out the best in everybody, and if you don't play well, we'll go to the next guy. And if that guy doesn't play well, we'll go to the next guy. Because I don't see how, and my working theory would be this. The trade deadline's tomorrow. That Howie will make a trade to recoup some of the picks that he gave away in the first place.
You still think Howie's got to move up his sleeve?
Well, I don't know that he's going to bring anybody else in here, but he might get a pick back and give up Ringo, or get a pick back and give up, I don't know, is there a team out there that would value, see Ojulari going on the injured list, I think he would have been a guy they could have tried to move.
Right.
Uche, maybe, do they say, hey, anybody interested in Uche? Because now you have 5 guys. Do you need 5? Is 4 enough?
Maybe you need 5 because you want to make sure you have enough guys just in case.
But there's a lot of teams that need pass rush. So does somebody say, hey, we need pass rush so bad, we'll give you a 6th for Uche? In other words, so
I want more than a 6.
I'm just saying, so you can recoup the picks that you gave away, and for a player that you probably don't have a lot of plans for.
I mean, it's a fair question because of the fact that, again, you acquired – well, first you signed Brandon Graham. Then you acquired Phillips. So now, yes, you are wondering where the snaps go in all of this.
I wonder if they just signed Brandon Graham for more of his locker room presence. Yeah, like maybe he's Kyle Lowry, where maybe he gets a handful of snaps. But Lowry played for the first time last
night.
He
hit a 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice 3 ball.
Apparently, Joel Embiid's weight all went to Lowry.
Or Michkov.
Oh, yeah, Michkov.
Equal distribution.
I kid.
Lowry literally is
Lowry looks like the guy who walks into like the local gym or the local basketball court who used to be like a high school star. And he's like, I can play.
And he's still pretty good.
And he can still shoot it.
And you're just like, man, that guy's still good.
He's like, man, that guy can still shoot.
But my point is, he is running up and down the sideline like a coach, essentially.
Right.
It's great. I've had a joy watching him do that, by the way.
The Sixers have been a blast to watch. Last night, they were so much fun to watch. But, like, did they say, look, Brandon Graham is back. They saw him in practice for a week, and they're like, we don't really know if we can really use Brandon Graham in games. But having him in the sideline and in the locker room and on the sideline, that's worth it enough to have him here, but we still needed to go get something else. And they went out and got a very good player in Jaelan Phillips.
Is Howie shopping at the discount rack? Is that what he's been doing here this weekend, really?
I wouldn't say Jaelan Phillips. I would say Jaelan Phillips is like, I don't know, buying like a polo from TJ Maxx. Like, it's still a top brand, but you know something was wrong with it at some point. That's why it ended up on the rack there. But it's not like you're going to, you're not like shopping at the what's it called, the Salvation Army.
Yeah, Goodwill. Yeah,
Goodwill.
You're not going to Goodwill.
Like, it's not donated from somebody else. It was just like a defect shirt.
Right. It's
in the
still
form of an ACL tear and an Achilles tear.
Yeah.
It's
Like
still Kenneth Cole, but it's just not.
Yeah, exactly. It's still a name brand. It's just like maybe the logo was stitched wrong or something. Yeah, I would say this isn't shopping at the discount rack as much as probably like Marshall's, TJ Maxx, probably a step above Ross Dress for Less.
And then like acquiring a guy like Jaire Alexander is like getting a used car at CarMax.
And Myles Garrett would be Saks Fifth Avenue or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tiffany's.
Settled all that. Yeah.
609-403-0973. 0973. Any? I can't see the text board because I don't have my glasses right now.
Yeah, I got you. So we got a couple texts coming in. He says, Texas didn't leave their name, so we'll call them Anonymous. Anonymous says, I think this is a good trade for the Eagles. They got an established pass rusher. They're only giving up a third, so it leaves the door open for them to get more help where and when they need it.
I think they didn't give up. Listen, if they would have just given up their own 3 and they didn't have a third, you might say, I don't care. It's a third-round pick for Jaelan Phillips. Like, people act like these things like you can't give up a pick because we always went behind door number 2. To get Jaelan Phillips for a third-round pick, you're taking a shot that he could be Jaelan Phillips that was a very good player. Not an elite player, but a very good player when he's healthy. I don't have any pick. And then they have other third-round picks to replace this third-round pick.
Exactly.
It's not like they're devoid. Like, when this is the thing. The rich get richer, sometimes they say. Well, you know why the rich get richer is because they make smart moves that allow them to get richer. In other words, they have compiled more third-round picks so that they can trade a third-round pick.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the exact number, but here it is. So after acquiring Jaelan Phillips, the Eagles still project to have, in next year's draft, a 1, a 2, 2 3s, 2 4s, and 2 5s.
And remember, if they don't sign Jaelan Phillips and he walks,
they get another one.
They would recoup the third-round pick that they gave away to get him.
Exactly.
So, in that case, this trade makes perfect sense. I have no problem with it. So that guy's text message is fine.
And isn't that why you kind of stockpile? I mean, I know third's not a late-round pick, but Howie, he does stockpile these late-round picks.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it.
He's got 6s and 7s. Isn't that a thing?
6-7.
Yeah.
6-7.
Yeah.
He's got a 6s and 7s just lingering, hanging around that he can just keep taking, like throwing darts at the dartboard. What else we got?
Robbie in Little Egg Harbor says, I think this is an okay pickup. I think Jaelan Phillips is Josh Sweat. He'll be in the rotation.
If he's Josh Sweat, it's more than an okay pickup, Robbie.
He says, giving up a third-round pick, I would have been feeling better for the fourth-round
trade a third-round pick to get Josh Sweat back?
Right now, yes, let's go.
Of course you would. So to Robbie's text message there, this isn't just an okay. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's definitely more than okay. I think the problem is that people look at Phillips and his lack of production and don't understand the lack of production is because of injuries, not because he's just a bum.
Yeah, but that factors in. He's been hurt a lot. So I know this town has been scarred with injuries and being dependent on that player being good if he's healthy, especially a guy who's been hurt multiple times. Speaking of injuries, why was Jaden Daniels in the game last night? That was gruesome.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, I think he'll be back and be okay.
He'll be okay, but that was just a nasty
Just ugly to
moment.
see that. But I think he'll be back and he'll play. In fact, I've heard some people say that he might be able to come back later this year.
Well, the good news is it's his non-throwing arm.
Yeah,
so,
that's another thing.
Phil in Brigantine chimes in and says, Mike Phillips has to be looked at as an excellent pickup. Fangio coached him and really wanted him. That's enough for me. Adding to the corner room is always a positive. Someone will rise up. Plus, the Lions, Green Bay, and Washington were all losers this weekend. Great bye week for the Eagles, says Phil in Brig.
All of that is correct. Excellent play. I don't have no problem with the pickup. If you want to call it excellent, great. You want to call it a great pickup, whatever you want to say. I have no problem with them giving up a third to get him. 2, I have stated, now the Lions losing, obviously, but the Lions losing to Minnesota is definitely a better loss than losing to Carolina. Now, I said last week, if you remember, during One Thought Every Game, when we did the Friday 5, I talked about that Panthers game.
Yes.
And I said, should we put that in the Friday 5? It's a 4-4 Panthers team, and if they win, they're 5-4. And people were like, they can't win, they stink. And I said, hey, they're 4-4, like they're in the conversation. Do I think they're all that good? No, I don't. But they proved us all to be wrong. They went on the road and won at Green Bay, to which I said, I have not been a believer in Green Bay.
You have said that since the very beginning.
And they have 2 hideous losses. They lost to freaking Cleveland and Carolina, and they tied Dallas.
And they barely beat, I think, Arizona it was.
Can't lose at home to Carolina.
At home is the worst part of it, too.
And now that puts the Eagles at the top spot in the NFC
And they
East.
just lost Tucker Kraft for the year.
Yep.
By the way, Eagles-Packers a week from tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Cardinals-Cowboys tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Let me tell you, I have YouTube TV, so I have not had ESPN all weekend.
I like this conversation.
When I got to work today, we have ESPN. So I've been sans ESPN TV all weekend. How insufferable First Take, number one, always is, but how insufferable it was today with the Cowboys playing tonight and then being in Dallas
right.
and having Michael Irvin, Stephen A. Smith wearing a cowboy hat on his head.
Yeah.
It was insufferable to watch. So I kind of was like, hey, this is pretty nice not having ESPN all weekend.
Well, I mean, you're going to miss the game tonight, right?
I'll figure out a way to find it.
There's always a way. There's always a loophole.
That's what these providers don't understand. We find ways.
Exactly.
The stupid corporate idiots all think they have us. Well, they make more money and they laugh at us. But in the end, we find out ways. We find ways.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way. We got you.
There's always a username and password to try and steal. Yeah, there you go.
McGarry on the other side. Was that the best World Series of all time? And by the way, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, he's getting ripped in the game. But was he in the wrong? We'll talk to Dave Gallagher tonight, former Major League Baseball 9-year veteran. Will join us at 5 o'clock about that play that maybe changed the World Series. Now the offseason is here. People are opting out of their contracts already.
Alonso,
what are the Phillies going to do?
Bregman.
More Sports Bash coming up live from the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
The LA Dodgers are not good for baseball. They are great for baseball. And all of those that are detracting against them, you should be mad at your own team for not spending, not the team that is spending. In what world is the business that is putting money back into the business the bad business? It wasn't only the guys that were a gazillion dollars. How about Miguel Rojas, who had an all-time home run top of the ninth to tie the game at 4? He's not a gazillion dollar guy, is he? Pages had one of the greatest catches you'll ever see in your life. This is not only Ohtani and Freeman and Betts and Yamamoto. You got to spend wisely.
Evan Cohen said that this morning on Unsportsmanlike. It's not our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. That's coming up at 3:45. The Dodgers, 2 straight World Series, 3 in 6 years, 13 out of 14 years, they have won the division. Is this good for baseball, bad for baseball? Baseball comes to an end. It was a riveting end of the World Series. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. A look back at the baseball season that is now in the books. Is he right there, Mike McGarry? We're in Mets country for you, Phillies country for us down here. These are the top 5 spending teams in the league. The Mets didn't make the playoffs. The Phillies got bounced. The Blue Jays spend top 5. You got the top team in baseball spending money. People criticize them. Well, you should win. But is this a good thing, the way this whole thing ended?
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, it was a tremendous series. And, Mike, I think it's good for any sport to have a dominant team, a dynasty-like team, a team at the top to sort of shoot for. I think it's great in basketball. I think it'd be great in hockey. I think it's great for baseball. I think it's great for football. Think about it. I mean, the Chicago Bulls of the 90s, the Golden State Warriors recently, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles now. These dominant teams bring attention to the sport and eyeballs to TVs to watch them play in big spots. So to me, the Dodgers' success is tremendous for baseball.
So it was an unbelievable finish. I mean, Jeff Hoffman is there, ready to close out the game. And you're thinking, man, what is Dave Dombrowski thinking right now as his former guy is ready to close out the World Series? And then he gives up the home run to tie the game. And it just kind of goes to show how unpredictable some of these things are. But there's so much in this game. The Jeff Hoffman home run that he gives up, then the Kiner Falefa, third base thing. There are people that are ripping him for not getting off third base. And then I see former players chiming in, Mike, saying that's exactly how it's taught. You can't get doubled up. It just had so much, what we love about baseball, second guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many moments in that series were like that. This series had a little bit of everything. 2 of the all-time classic games of all time in the 18-inning game and then the Game 7 the other night. Moments that, like you said, can be debated forever. And Mike, we talked about it on Friday, right? The great moments by players who you don't think of. And we talked about the Phillies just don't have guys like that. Kiki Hernandez makes a play on Friday night that ends Game 6 when it looked like the Blue Jays were on the verge of maybe winning the World Series. Miguel Rojas gets the big home run. When's the last time in a post we saw a non-star, not Bryce Harper, not Kyle Schwarber, not not one of the Phillies' huge players, not Trey Turner. When's the last time we saw Bryson Stott make a play like that? When's the last time we saw Brandon Marsh get a big home run? You got to go back to 2022 for Marsh, Game 4 against the Braves. We talked about it. Those guys who are better in October than they are in July. The Dodgers have the superstars, and then they have those guys. The Phillies don't have those Kiki Hernandez type of guys.
Yeah, it's one of those. By the way, Stott did hit the grand slam in the wild card game in 2003 against the Marlins, but it's probably the last big hit that he has had if you're trying to remember different things. And the Phillies only won. Look, let's be honest. They only won one playoff game in this run here. I mean, realistically, I don't know. Are they far from these two teams now that you watch that whole thing unfold?
No, I think they're number 3. I think they're not as pesky as the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays' ability to sort of put the ball in play and hit for power is something that the Phillies don't have. But you look at those 4 games that the Phillies played, obviously game 4 with the Orion Kirkgren mistake, who knows what happens if he makes that play. The opportunity in game 2, they had a lead in game 1. To me, if I'm the Phillies, I kind of look at this and say, look, we're not that far away. We're not that far behind the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. I think the Phillies are a solid number 3 if you were to rank the top teams in baseball right now.
So you look at this World Series, you see the Dodger team. If you look at their roster, it's an older roster. Freddie Freeman, Rojas, people, he's an older guy. Obviously, you got Mookie Betts. I don't want to say he's an old guy, but he's one of those guys. It's like a Trey Turner. He's starting to get the early 30 portions of his career. Muncy's an older guy. This is a team that is a older group of guys. Does that make you feel like, what, the Phillies should just keep it together and hope that older group busts through? Or do you look at the Blue Jays, who are a little bit younger? You use the word pesky. They brought up, Barger's a 25-year-old outfielder. They've got Guerrero, who's a young guy, which is crazy because he feels like he's been around forever. Bichette, who's a free agent, but he was a young guy. Do you look at the Dodgers and say, keep the core and keep pushing? Or do you look at the Blue Jays and say, time to break it up and go younger?
No, I don't think you can break up the core, Mike, for the Phillies right now. If you're the 3rd best team in baseball, why are we going to break up the core? But what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to augment that core with younger guys and maybe try to find a few of those guys who are better in October than they are in July. But you can't, you couldn't break up the core of this Phillies team if you wanted to, just like the Dodgers can't break up the core of their team if they wanted to. I mean, they're going to have to ride with Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and Shohei and Will Smith and Teoscar Hernandez, just the same way the Phillies are going to have to ride with, with Bryce Harper, with Trey Turner, with Zach Wheeler, with Aaron Nola. I think you got to keep the core together, but you got to try to augment that core with younger players. And I think that's the secret to sort of keeping, success going. And history tells you it's very hard to do because once that core ages out, most teams take a step back.
All right, so the offseason is here, and obviously people are starting to opt out. We'll start to see this get moving here very quickly. We'll see if if the Phillies act quickly on some of these free agent decisions. Do they bring back Kyle Schwarber? Do they bring back JT? What happens with Ranger Suarez? How does the Bader thing? What about Jose Alvarado? That now all happens starting today. These players are opting out. You have 5 days to make that decision on some of these. The Alvarado thing, right? They got to make that decision. Do they want to pay him $9 million, try to get him to come back at a cheaper number? That's going to be interesting to see because at this rate, you saw the Dodgers essentially deprioritize bullpen. They use their starters as bullpen guys come playoff. And I think the Phillies maybe could have tore a page out of what the Dodgers did and maximized some of they had this deep starting rotation that they did not really, maybe maximize in these playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, what the Dodgers had was they've got more than 5 starters, right? And they were banged up during the year, and they kind of all got healthy at the same time, and then were all pitching seemingly at their peak in the postseason. So they kind of really rode that pitching wave the correct way. To me, for the Phillies, I think you've got to bring Alvarado back. I think it's a $9 million option. He's a left-handed reliever that throws 100 miles an hour. I know a bad season for him. The PEDs got hurt when he came back. But imagine in Game 4 at Dodger Stadium, if you had a healthy Jose Alvarado able to go in that game, what a difference he would have made in the postseason. So I think the Phillies take a flyer on a left-handed reliever that can throw 100 miles an hour. And to me, the number one priority for the Phillies is they've got to bring Kyle Schwarber back. If you don't bring Kyle Schwarber back, then I think you've got big problems because I don't see anybody replacing his 50-plus home runs or his presence in the lineup or his presence in that clubhouse. So to me, if I'm the Phillies, the number one guy I got to have back is Kyle Schwarber. Everybody else, I can live without Rio Muto, Mike. I can live without Ranger Suarez. I think the Phillies go forward and can be just as good this year than they were the year coming up than they were this year with if they lose those free agents. But boy, they lose Kyle Schwarber. To me, all bets are off. He is irreplaceable to me.
What I would say, Mike, is I think everybody says you got to trade Bohm, you got to move Bohm, only because it makes sense to move him. But I almost look at if I can find a way to keep Bohm, but deprioritize him in the lineup. In other words, we're going to have Bohm, but he hits 7th. He hits 8th. You got to get him out of the middle of the order. So you've got to try to find an upgrade, not just over Bohm, over the 4th spot in the lineup. And if that means your Bohm is still here, but he's hitting 7th, he is acceptable as a 7 hitter. He is not acceptable as a 4 hitter.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. The reason I think you hear so much about trading Alec Bohm is because, people want to make a move. People want to try to improve the team. And there aren't many spots you can point to and say, well, you're not trading Bryce Harper at first base. You're not trading Trey Turner at shortstop. You're not trading, the pitching staff. You're not looking to make other moves out there. Alec Bohm is one of those few places at third base where you can say, hey, and he does have some value there. And you can say, what can I do with this guy? I can trade this guy to get another player in or something like that to improve the team. That's why I think you hear his name so much. But I agree. If Alec Bohm is batting cleanup for you, you got problems. Alec Bohm is hitting 6th or 7th in the order. You got a pretty good batting order. So the question is, what kind of moves do you make? Who do you add? Who do you subtract to make it so Bohm can bat down in the order? That's Dave Dombrowski's challenge this offseason. They need that right-handed bat, Mike, in many ways. And I know, he had a checkered history here, but you go back to the 22 team that went to the World Series. What's the big difference between that team and the Phillies of the past couple of years? It's Rhys Hoskins. It's a right-handed bat that can hit 25 home runs. I mean, they've never really replaced Rhys Hoskins' role in that lineup.
I agree with that. I don't know where. Now, let me ask you about a right-handed bat. What about Alonso? What happens with him in the Mets? Does he just go back to the Mets? Is he done with the Mets? If the Phillies lose Schwarber, do they turn their attention to Alonso? Can they make them both work together?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that the Mets would let Pete Alonso have Alonso as a free agent, and they also have Diaz as a free agent. I would expect the Mets to sort of to re-sign both of them. However, if you lose Schwarber to another team and you're the Phillies, I could easily see you pivoting to Pete Alonso. And then do you say to Bryce Harper, can you go back to the outfield, or does Alonso become the DH? It's interesting to me. Pete Alonso for the Phillies would be plan B, right? Plan A is I'm bringing Kyle Schwarber back, and I want, Bryce Harper at first base. But if Schwarber walks and I got to replace that power, well, Alonso is a guy, that certainly fits that bill.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Let's get your quick take. Jaelan Phillips for a third-round pick. Initial reaction when you saw that this morning, plus Jaire Alexander over the weekend.
Yeah, I like it. How could you not like it? I mean, the Eagles have an excess of picks. This is why you have those excess of picks. And to me, Howie is not standing still. They've had problems with the pass rush. They make the trade today to bring in the guy from the Dolphins. They've had problems in the secondary. They bring in Michael Carter to give them some options in the secondary, maybe give them the ability to switch Cooper DeJean from the slot to the outside cornerback. So to me, this was a bye week period for the Eagles. They had a pretty good bye week. Not only do they upgrade the roster, right, but then they sit home on a Sunday afternoon and they're watching, the Packers lose and the Lions lose and, the Commanders, go down in flames last night. Pretty productive bye week for the Philadelphia Eagles. And all of a sudden, their next two games, which everybody thought were like pretty daunting, Packers-Lions, all of a sudden don't look so bad right now.
Well, we'll see. They'll play the Packers Monday night. Giants, they lose. Washington only not only loses, they lose their quarterback. The Cowboys will play tonight. They could gain another game on everybody this weekend in the NFC East. I think they're the only team in football that has at least a 2-game lead over everybody in the division. Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, has plenty of coverage of everything that's happened. I know it was a busy high school football weekend for you as well.
Yeah, great high school football playoff weekend. Great job by the local teams in the first round of the state public school playoffs. They went 6-2, teams in Atlantic, Cape May, Cumberland, and Southern Ocean County. And one of those losses was Mainland beating Ocean City. So local teams only lost one game against out-of-area teams. Great job by Mainland, Atlantic City, Pleasantville, Cedar Creek. The Southern Regional, they're all moving on. Lower Cape May got their first playoff win in school history. And this week, Holy Spirit, St. Augustine, and St. Joe will start the non-public playoffs. So still about 9-10 football teams chasing state titles as we begin November here.
Good stuff, Mike. As always, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We'll do it again on Wednesday when we'll take a look back. Sixers with another big win last night. They got a couple of back-to-backs coming up, and we'll talk more about all of that and more with Mike here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Mike, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
As always, Mike McGarry here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, he, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, serving South Jersey since 1911, keeping your home comfort game day ready this season. We'll go deeper into the Eagles trade. John McMullen next hour will join us. Also, later on, Scott Grayson grades the trade at 5:30. We'll talk about the World Series, all the moves, and then the offseason. Dave Gallagher, former Philly, 9-year Major League Baseball veteran, will join me at 5 o'clock tonight. Got the Nuggets, the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. We are jam-packed busy at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And don't forget, 99 bottles. Listen for that sounder to go off today, and you could be at this year's 99 Bottles party. All right, 253 live at the Fanatic Sportsbook here on the campus of Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Good conversation with Mike McGarry. We're going to get into the Eagles trades and see how Michael Carter, Jaire Alexander changed the corner room, if at all. John McMullen will join us coming up at 3 o'clock. And then, of course, the big trade today, Jaelan Phillips has come over from the Miami Dolphins. And he'll be, I don't know, is he a home run hire, if you will? Like, is this the one that changes the complexion of this defense? You know, the last time the Eagles made a trade with the Dolphins?
I know this answer. Jaire Alexander.
17, they won the Super Bowl.
Sir.
Is this the Jaire Alexander trade that puts them over the top? Like, you're like, did we really need another edge rusher? Yeah, you did need another edge rusher. Is this the one? Scott Grayson grades the trade at 5:30 tonight on the Sports Bash. Now, got Monday Night Football tonight, Cowboys and Cardinals on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers with a win last night. We're going to get into that a little bit later on in the show. Flyers lost. They had 2 losses this weekend. They lost to the Flames last night.
Bad weekend for the Flyers.
Bad weekend for the Flyers. And then Tocchet calling out his players.
We're not even we're barely in November, and this is where we're at here.
He wants a more entertaining product. He said a poor product they put on the ice. All right, we're coming up. John McMullen's take on the Eagles trades is coming up in 5 minutes from now. Don't go away. More Sports Bash from the Fanatic Sportsbook. Hey, look at that. It's the 99 Bottles Contest Sounder. 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. It is 99 Bottles. If you're caller 7 right now, you are in for this year's 99 Bottles party at Maynard's at Margate, where one lucky winner will walk away with a pair of tickets to see the Eagles. By the way, the Eagles game is the Eagles-Commanders game. It is Eagles-Commanders. It was the Bears game for the draft party. I was wrong. The tickets are the Eagles-Commanders. I completely messed that up. But you're still going to an Eagles game. You're still getting club box seats. You're still getting to go see the Birds, the Flyers, the Sixers, and all sorts of other stuff. Caller 7 right now. Good luck. Hour 2 of the show, live at the Fanatics Sportsbook, Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash coming up. The Eagles active all weekend, and on Wednesday last week they made a trade. What does that cornerback room look like now? We'll ask John McMullen from Birds 365 and Sports Illustrated. He's brought to you by Boardwalk Honda. Shop their lineup of new pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas online at boardwalkhonda.com. Well, John, we have been waiting for something to happen. Multiple things have happened. That defense looks a little bit different today. We'll see how different you think they look. It was a good weekend for the Birds. Green Bay lost. Detroit lost. That puts Philly in the top spot without even playing. That was probably the big story of the weekend. But how about this morning? Jaelan Phillips is here for a third-round pick. How do you look at this deal? How does he mix in with this edge rushing group?
Yeah, I think this is the meaningful move, the splash move, so to speak. I mean, this guy, the minute he walks into the building, he's the number one edge rusher on the team, has a history with Vic Fangio. Vic likes him as a player. I think this is a meaningful move, and it sort of has a domino effect of putting everybody else on that edge rushing group in a better role for them. So if you imagine when Nolan Smith comes back, whenever that is, he's the number 2 now instead of the number 1, and so forth. Jaire Alexander 3, and down Josh Uche, Brandon Graham. So everybody has a sort of easier role, and this is your top pass rusher. And he's not Myles Garrett, he's not Micah Parsons, but he's a very good player.
Right. I guess that's the thought is, does he initially or immediately, I should say, move to the top of the depth chart? And then how does, that kind of domino effect down to the snaps for everybody else?
Yeah, well, just as I said, it sort of knocks them down one notch. And I think that's really, if you think about it, you probably jump the gun a little bit, assuming Nolan Smith could be the number 1 guy. You probably jumped the gun a little bit, assuming Jaelan Phillips could be a starter at this early stage of his career. And now those guys sort of dip back a tick. And, the Eagles were already happy with Josh Uche as a rotational player. So I don't think it affects him that much. But, yeah, it just makes you better. It makes you deeper. It makes you more prepared to have a better pass rush for the second half, which in turn will probably help the cornerbacks more than any of the moves you made with the cornerbacks, to be honest.
Well, we'll get into them in a minute. So it sounds like you think that maybe he cuts into Jaelan Hunt's playing time. Is that where most of these snaps will kind of come?
But yeah, Jaelan will go down. I mean, that again, Nolan Smith isn't here yet, and even though the speculation is that they will start his practice window this week, we'll see. Thursday is a key day for that, because the assumption that he's just coming back automatically is not one I'm comfortable with, because they probably would have started his practice window before if that were the case. So you have to see when he's healthy. But yeah, when Nolan Smith is back, Jaelan Phillips is probably the guy who loses the most in terms of playing time. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's probably in the role he should be in. He's probably playing a little bit too much out of necessity right now because of all the injuries.
So they give up a third-round pick. It's the Eagles' own pick here. Now, this is interesting because they had multiple third-round picks. It ends up being theirs, which I believe will be the worst of the 3. The other interesting part is if he walks, there's a good chance they just recoup a third-round pick. But is this the kind of move that you could see that they want him to be here long-term?
Yeah, that depends. Everybody's obsessed with compensatory picks, which is bizarre to me. But nonetheless, I think there's a misunderstanding of how that works. It doesn't. You don't get a compensatory pick just because he signs elsewhere. You have to sort of play that game where you have to make sure you don't sign more players in free agency than leave, and then if the contract is big enough, you're in line for a compensatory pick. But in the case of the Eagles, after this maintenance offseason, they might want to be more proactive in free agency. So they might not even be playing the compensatory pick game. So I think people need to put that on the back burner for right now. And as far as Jaelan Phillips, yeah, he's 26 years old. I mean, but, you know, he's got 9 games in the playoffs to prove what he could be. And if he proves what he could be, as I said, Vic Fangio likes the player.
Yeah.
He could be the answer on the edge long term. But obviously he's going to have to perform on the field before they make that decision.
So you got Nolan, you got Jalix, you got Jaelan Phillips now, you got Uche, and I guess Brandon Graham. Ojulari went on the injured list. So those are the 5 guys right there. I would imagine they're done at that position. Let's go to corner, where on Saturday they ended Jaire Alexander. They added, I should say, Jaire Alexander. That one was just a minimal pick swap there, and they get a guy who's a 2-time Pro Bowler who's not an old man. So what's going on with Alexander that he's available for such a minimal price?
Well, he hasn't played well, and he's barely played. He's played 61 snaps for a team that has had a struggle defensively and a struggle at corner. So that sets off, and it's usually a very smart team. It's not one of the bad teams when you say maybe they don't tend to make a lot of mistakes in Baltimore. So I do think this is in essence a potential big name trap that the fans get excited by the player. At one time, he's one of the best corners in football, but that was in football terms a very long time ago, 2020, 2022. And, you know, over the last two and a half seasons, I believe he's played 16 games out of a potential 44. And again, 61 snaps this season. He was a healthy scratch his last 2 games in Baltimore, so they weren't even dressing him. So this, to me, is a dart throw. And as you saw, I think the dead giveaway is the compensation, as you mentioned. Very little to get him. You throw him in the hopper and see if he can recapture some of the magic. But, you know, coming out of the bye, I think Keely Ringo had his best game against the Giants. He'll be the starter in Green Bay, and it'll be his job to lose. And now he's been very inconsistent. I realize that people don't have much confidence in him, but I realize the people that don't have much confidence in him probably haven't watched Jaire Alexander in the last 3 or 4 years. So it's sort of a catch-22, but now you have and how he still, you know, from a number standpoint, doesn't need all these corners.
Right.
So he might try to trade Jackson. He might try to trade Jacorian Bennett, similar to John Mechie, very short stay here, if he can get anything for him. If not, he might have to cut one. But I think, you know, the hope and the building is that Keely Ringo develops a little bit more consistency.
Right. That was something I brought up earlier, is it would almost be like, hey, is anybody interested in Adoree or somebody here, or Uche, or I guess Ojulari being hurt kind of pulls him out of the mix, but that you can recruit some of the picks, even if they're late round picks, because they like to do that as well. How do you, John, now that the dust is settled, think about Michael Carter and how he fits in?
Yeah, he's here to be a backup slot. He's here to be sort of Avonte Maddox, what Avonte did. So backup slot corner, backup safety. They think he has that ability to. It's essentially mirrored positions, and I think the dead giveaway was putting Marcus Epps on injured reserve. So I think that's Michael Carter's role, sort of depth, and the ability to play both positions, and that's what they feel they have with that particular player, and they weren't as comfortable with the depth, certainly at slot and even at safety. So I think that's what he's here for. Certainly not in the mix outside, and strictly a slot corner from the cornerback part of it. And Vic doesn't want to move Cooper DeJean to the outside, so he's going to play outside base when there's only 2 corners on the field, but Vic thinks he's too valuable playing in the slot. And it's hard to argue because he's been the best slot cornerback in football since he's gotten here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, everybody just thinks it's a fait accompli that you put Cooper DeJean outside and that he's going to excel out there. I'm not trying to say that he wouldn't, but, I mean, he's never really played a full game where he's running around with the Jamar Chases of the world and the Justin Jeffersons of the world. I'm not saying he can, but do you think the Eagles want to see him out there full time, or is this role that he's currently in where they think he fits best?
Yeah, I think this is where they think he fits best, but it's also, the business part of it comes in unless the Eagles are willing to pay him like an outside corner. Outside corners generally get paid more than slot corners, not generally, always the top tier outside corner. So that's sort of the business of football. But I think they have until next year to figure that part of it out. And then maybe there'll be some pushing because obviously Cooper's going to make as much money as possible. But, he's a guy, I wouldn't bet against him. As everybody says, from Vic on down, this guy's just a football player. Wherever you play him, he's gonna play well.
Yeah.
And he could play. I truly believe he could be a Pro Bowl outside corner. He already is the best slot. I think he could be a Pro Bowl safety. He's that versatile. He's that good. And he's in the conversation, and I haven't heard it. And I'm the first. I'm trying to be the first. He's one of the best football players, pure football players the Eagles have. He's just unbelievable.
Who in your mind fits better, makes a bigger impact? Jaire Alexander or Michael Carter, or do neither one of them really have much of an impact?
I think Michael's more concrete as far as the role, backup slot, backup safety. And I think Jaire is more of a dart throw to throw him in the mix with. I think they'll move on from either Adoree Jackson or Jacorian Bennett. And then you'll have three guys, Ringo, one of those two, and Alexander. And, whoever is closest to the bullseye when you throw the dart, who's ever playing the best, I think that's who they will go with.
So ultimately, it sounds like, if I'm reading you, it feels like in your mind that Kelee Ringo is still the starter and he's still the best option, and Cooper DeJean stays where he's at, and that they just essentially added depth.
Yeah. To start, again, Kelee hasn't proven himself to the degree where they are comfortable saying he's going to be the starter for the rest of the season. I mean, he'll be the starter in Green Bay because he played well against the Giants coming out of the bye. Now, that's a good offensive team coming off a bad game. Maybe they play better. Maybe they test him. Maybe he plays poorly, and they're on to the rotation again. Now, I don't think Alexander's going to be able to help right away. But, Adoree can get back in the mix, and we'll see how long they carry all of them. It doesn't seem like they need that kind of depth at corner when they don't trust any of the corners. It seems silly to carry them all. But you got a lot of bodies, and the good news is, if you got 4 dart throws instead of 1, maybe you hit on one of them.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously they get Jaelan Phillips in here. You would think that it makes the biggest impact of all these guys, correct?
Oh, yeah. He's in a different category than, as you can tell by the compensation, he's in a different category than the corners they acquired.
Yeah. Is this enough? Is there, you look at it and say, hey, listen, they added, they didn't get a Trey Hendrickson, obviously Myles Garrett, who everybody likes to have fun with that. But when you look and say, okay, they got Jaelan Phillips, they've taken their defense to another level.
Well, yeah, this is certainly the most realistic option. And I think of the realistic options. So I'm taking Myles off the table because that was never real. Taking Trey Hendrickson off the table because that was never real. Taking Micah Parsons off the table because that was never real. This is the best realistic option they could have gotten. and he's a good player. Some injury concerns. But, his first 2 years before he tore his Achilles, he was on his way to being a real star player in this league. And Vic had him for, half a year basically, and then he got hurt. Liked him a lot, and he was doing well. I think he had 6.5 sacks in 8 games with Vic Fangio. So Vic likes him, and I think he's a perfect fit from an athleticism standpoint because he's the kind of guy who is a little bit more comfortable dropping than some other edge rushers, as Vic likes to do on occasion. So he's a good fit. He's a good player. Got to stay healthy, but he has played every game this year, and he hasn't. He's on a bad team, but he's still playing hard, so that's always good. Because some people do give up in those types of situations. So of the realistic options, I think this is the guy that they wanted and they had an ability to get, and they went out and got him.
Right, and he's certainly going to be playing. Get next to Jalen Carter as an upgrade over Zach Seiler and Benito Jones.
Yeah, I mean, everybody here already is benefits from playing with Jalen Carter, and he'll certainly benefit as well. That's the type of player he is. So, yeah, it should make things easier. And then if you envision down the stretch, Jaelan Phillips, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Moro Jomo as your four-man rush in obvious pass situations, that looks pretty good on paper.
John McMullen's with us, and then you watched, everything yesterday without the Eagles. I think you and I talked about this on your show. I've been more of a Lions guy than a Packers guy. Now, I know it doesn't help my argument because the Lions lost yesterday, but the Packers have now lost to the Browns and the Panthers at home and tied Dallas. And you're just wondering, is that team a good team, a very good team, or a Super Bowl team?
Well, they're a good team. I think they have, the goal isn't to play your best in week 9. It's to play your best by the end of the season. So I do think they're one of the handful of teams that have a legitimate shot. Now the weekend couldn't have gone much better for the Eagles, to be honest, not only from a win-loss standpoint, but from an injury standpoint. I mean, they lost Tucker Kraft, who was having a hell of a year as a tight end. He's gone for the season. The Commanders lost Jaden Daniels, obviously. Everything went the Eagles' way this weekend. And we're going to see, though, obviously, you know how the NFL works better than most, Mike. They play a bad game, and they're more likely to play a good game next week. Some of these good teams. And,
well, it almost lined up because I think Micah Parsons last week was asked about having Philadelphia the next week and, about a trap situation, like even just bringing that up and hearing it and then seeing the way they played. But, you can't lose at home to that. I mean, Carolina it's a nice story. They're 5-4. I brought it up on Friday's show about hey, if they win this game, they're kind of in the wild card mix a little bit. I don't know if anybody takes Carolina, but you can't lose that game if you're Green Bay because you look back and you're going to look at the game like that if you don't get home field advantage.
No, yeah, I mean it's a bad loss. Nobody's trying to shake that off, but that's I don't see any real dominant team this season in the NFL, to be honest. No. The NFC is deeper than the AFC, but I don't see that dominant team. Maybe the Eagles could be that down the stretch. We'll see if they do it. As you mentioned, Detroit loses. I didn't see that coming. Minnesota hasn't had a lead there in 5 years.
Right,
Never
and they
mind
lost.
Won a game.
They lost at home too. I mean, they both lost at home. That was the perplexing part about that.
That's what I mean. So, I mean, strange things happen in this league every week, and then they might come out and look like gangbusters next week. It's tough to nail these things down because I do think the parity is so even. You're talking about 5 to 10 players at the top of the roster even differentiating from, mediocre to good teams, and even the bad teams have good players. But, it's not a transitive league, carry it over.
Yeah.
But it's a bad loss.
Well,
it's bad losses for both of those teams.
You got everybody seems to forget about Tampa all of a sudden, because they lost a couple of weeks ago, but they won. They're 6-2.
People better start waking up to Seattle, man.
I was going to say, and now you got a new kid on the block, Seattle. The Rams are 6-2. San Fran is 6-3. The Bears came back and stuck in when you thought they were dead out of the water. They get a win yesterday because Philly's got the Bears coming up on their schedule still. So there's still a ways to go in this thing. The twists and turns of the back end now of the NFL season as we're getting ready to get into it. John McMullen, everybody. Birds 365 on the Jacob Media YouTube channel, weekday mornings at 8 a.m. And you can check out all of his coverage in writing form at Sports Illustrated at J.F. McMullen on the X platform. All right, Johnny Mac. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Mike.
As always, John McMullen here on the Sports Bash is brought to you by our friends over at Boardwalk Honda, where you can get certified pre-owned Hondas online at boardwalkhonda.com. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. You got live college basketball going on. Crazy. You got college basketball. You got the bar is full. I was wondering, why is the bar packed on a Monday? It's, normally it's like a little bit hopping in here on a Monday. But, you got live games on right now. That's what's going on.
Villanova's playing tonight against BYU. I know that.
My man Nadu, I texted him this weekend. He's all doing the research for the college basketball. By the way, we were talking on Nadu's picks the other day. Remember one of the things, if you were there on Thursday, I said to him, I took Indiana. And one of the things I love about Indiana, betting Indiana, is because they just love kicking the crap out of everybody. They just keep running it up. It was 4th down and 2. They were up like 41-14, and they went for it and scored again. They just don't take their foot off the gas because I feel like they're just constantly trying to impress everybody. When we come back, the Eagles make a trade, and that had the headlines this morning. But the Sixers are 5-1. Are they starting to ask for some headlines all of a sudden? Are you buying into the hometown 5 yet? That's coming up. Sports Bash Live. And by the way, congratulations to Michael in Summers Point who's listening today. Michael in Summers Point, you are going to be at this year's 99 Bottles party at Maynard's in Margate. Yes, November 26th. We're closing in. Do you believe it's November already? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yep. Clocks were turned back this weekend.
Brutal.
You weren't a fan?
No, I hate this time of the year. It was dark out at 5:30 yesterday. I was like, what's going on? All right, more Sports Bash coming up from the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. All right, 3:31 live at the Fanatics Sportsbook. This hour is brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, installation. Call 609-390-3907. Online, broadlees.net. More on the Eagles trades coming up. Football at 4. Mosher's in the house today. Looking forward to that?
I always love a Mosher Monday.
Grayson grades the trades tonight at 5:30. Dave Gallagher, former major leaguer, 9-year veteran, going to talk about the World Series coming to a close and what he thinks the Phillies can do to get there. Are you into the Sixers or not? 609-403-0973. How many people are like, you know what, I had no interest in this team, don't care. 6 games in, they're 5-1. How many people are like, you know what, I'm going to peak? Or how many people are like, you know what, this Edgecombe, did you see the sequence Edgecombe had last night?
I saw the dunk he attempted in the first quarter.
The dunk he attempted
was
unbelievable.
He's going to nail one.
No, he
of those
didn't make
moments.
it.
No.
But he went up over like 4 guys.
Yep.
But he had a sequence in, I think, the second where he hit a 3, then he came down and hit another 3, and then he had a 2-hand tomahawk stuff. Do you have that call from McGinnis, Josh? I mean, it sounded like McGinnis was going to jump through the radio last night. I mean, it literally, I was like, McGinnis sounded like he was sitting in your lap with how excited he was. It should be right on the Adobe. But Edgecombe just makes you have to watch. Then, here's the call last night on the sequence that ended with this 2-hand stuff from VJ Edgecombe.
Back to VJ down the line, a 2-hand jam. VJ Edgecombe putting on a highlight show in Brooklyn. He's made 2 threes and a 2-hand flying stuff. Oh, yeah.
As heard on 97.3 ESPN, Tom McGinnis on the call there. So he hit a couple threes before that. Then, I've been talking about Trendon Watford. He had a sequence that was worth your time last night.
Yep.
He hit a 3, then had a block shot, then had an assist on another one, and you're starting to see kind of how he's fitting in a little bit. And listen, he's a role player. Nothing to get crazy about. But I think when Paul George gets back, which I don't know when that's going to be, probably next week, maybe this week some point. But Watford, I think, would move to the 4. And then George, the question will be, what do you do with Kelly Oubre, who's been unbelievable? He was unbelievable last night. Oubre had 22 points in the first quarter last night. Maxey's been awesome so far. They lost Friday night in a game that, they got down again, then they came back, and in reality, they probably should have won that game the way they came back in that game. They had the ball in the final possession and just had a terrible play. But if they would have scored there at the end, they would have won that game on Friday night. They won the game last night. They just blew the doors off the nets with no Embiid. Now, Embiid did play Friday night, and he played okay. I mean, offensively, he was fine. Defensively, he's still a problem. But last night, you would say they didn't have Embiid, and they scored 129 points without him last night.
Yeah, I mean, that's a game last year where they don't win that game by 24 points.
Well, that's the thing, is that the way they're playing without Embiid, at least they've kind of matured and graduated to, we don't have to have Embiid to win. Before, if they didn't have Embiid, they just could not win. They were terrible. Now they're at the point where we don't have to have Embiid, and we can still be competitive, and we can still win. Is that a recipe for this team being a top 4 seed?
And you don't know how long this minutes restrictions is going to last for Embiid. It could be the whole season, right?
I don't think it's going to be the whole season, but
It could be for a while.
I think it might be until at least my guess would be maybe the All-Star break, maybe less, maybe right after Christmas. The Sixers don't play on Christmas Day this year, but maybe right around Christmas they decide you know what, let's see what our record is, and then maybe we can kind of after the new year kind of let him go a little bit more. I mean, he's obviously offensively kind of finding his way right now. It's defensively that he has been not the same. And I don't know, maybe he doesn't get back to that guy defensively, but they have to have him out there, but they can win without him. That's the thing. They can win without him. I guess I would ask this question. I think we all just assume they have to have Embiid if they want to go anywhere. But do they? Is that a dumb question to ask?
Yeah, I think to make it to the NBA Finals, yes.
Well, what about last year? You look at Oklahoma City, Indiana, just a bunch of guards up and down. Their big men are more athletes that just kind of alter shots, rebound. They're not. Now, Miles Turner's a pretty good, player, but he's not Joel Embiid offensively.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, it's fair. I just don't see how they match up with some of these other teams without him.
Well, he's the difference maker, obviously, on offense. But on defense, are they better with, like, Bona out there? Just like this young pogo stick who runs up and down with the guards and gets putbacks and dunks and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think you got to – that's why I think you got to let it play out a little bit because they certainly know the backstory of Embiid better than we do. And they're just kind of – I think they created an offense that was centered around these guards and that Embiid can step into. And that if Embiid's not there, the offense still stays the same. The question is on defense. But I will say, when Paul George gets back, it's going to be very interesting to see where he fits in. Does he kind of fit in as the guy that I would imagine he replaces, like last night was Jabari Walker was in the starting lineup. Some nights it's been Barlow in the starting lineup. Now, Barlow's hurt right now with this elbow laceration. So I would imagine that George steps into that spot on the court. Now, I would imagine also that Paul George is probably better than Jabari Walker and Dominic Barlow. Even if you don't like Paul George and you're like, he's old, he stinks, he's still better than both those guys. So how much better can this team be with Paul George returning? I think that's going to be a very interesting thing here.
I think Quentin Grimes, what he's doing this year, coming off the bench, buying into that role, that, for me, that is the key
He's
so
been
far.
awesome. He's really been good.
Sixth
by the
man
way,
of the year.
tomorrow night.
Another 20 spot last night.
Yeah, he's averaging like 18 a game. By the way, tomorrow night, Sixers 5-1, Bulls 5-1. You can listen to that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. And then the back-to-back, the Sixers will play Cleveland.
Yeah.
So it'll be Sixers Bulls tomorrow, Sixers Cleveland on Wednesday. Now, Joel did not play last night. Now, how much of the game did you watch last night, or were you on Chiefs Bills?
Yeah, first half I was Chiefs Bills, but I like you said earlier, I was peaking, and then once.
How many people were on Chiefs Bills and then Sixers at 6 and said, let me go flip over to the Sixers, and then kind of stuck on the – I went Sixers at 6 o'clock.
Right on the nose.
Right on the nose, 6 o'clock. I watched from tip. I could not get off.
Wow. You did not care to watch that Mahomes Josh Allen for the 50th time.
I had it on my laptop.
Okay.
I had it on my laptop. Watched the football game on my laptop. VJ Edgecombe is must-see TV right now.
He is. He's like Kyle Schwarber, almost. Because one of these times, that first quarter yam he tried, he's going to hit it one of these times, and it's going to be all over the television.
When he does that, it's going to put him on another level. But I think what is unbelievable about him so far is he did not come as advertised with a three-point shot.
Right.
And he is connected, just like Maxey. Maxey was not a great three-point shooter in college, and he's come into the league and has become a really good three-point shooter. Edgecombe has become a really good three-point shooter in these early stages right here. He has remade his shot. But, ultimately, let's see what Andrew and Summers' point says. We don't need him out there. The team has proven that we can use a big man that is just average. He's slow, and he's not much of a defensive threat. I mean, if you're just doing the eye test, you would say they're better at least defensively without him. And they can I still think if you watch them in the half court, though, they do struggle without him in the half court.
Like, would they be better off having like a Rudy Gobert at center instead of Embiid with how they're playing right now?
Yeah, like an elite defensive
player of the year type guy.
That type of guy, right.
Right.
Probably. I mean, it's just like, let me see. Friday night was so long ago, it seems like, against Boston. Embiid played 25 minutes. He had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, 3 assists. He was a +2. So for all the people that are like they're better without him, they actually played pretty well with him out on the floor. He was a +2. Now, Bona was a -10, and everybody just assumes that Bona has been this great defensive player. Wasn't the case. Now, Drummond was a +7. I contend right now that the three of those guys they all complement each other differently.
Right.
You got Embiid's offense, you got Drummond's rebounding, and you've got Bona's shot blocking capabilities. It's almost like you got a platoon, those three guys right now, and Embiid playing 25 minutes is getting the most minutes of that group.
And Bona's youthful energy, he'll get after it. He doesn't care.
Well, he had 3 fouls early in that game yesterday, so they kind of had to get him out of the game. And then Drummond had a couple fouls. But the two of those guys, this has been the best backup center situation that they have had, where you don't have to have Embiid playing 38 minutes. Generally he has to play 38 minutes, and if he doesn't, the team falls apart. That's not the case right now. 609-403-0973. Mike Embiid is still great. He just can't run the floor right now. Hopefully he gets his legs at some point. I do think – did you hear on I guess it was Friday night. The game was on Amazon Prime. And Van Gundy said at one point, Embiid made a shot, and he got fouled. And it was like some tough shot. And Van Gundy said, he's like, this is unbelievable. This is a guy right now that's playing at 50%.
Right.
So when he said that, I'm like, man, if he's actually only playing at 50%, that's very encouraging. Because I figured he was closer to 75, 80%, and he's just kind of getting his wind and getting his legs and getting into shape. But if he's only at 50%, if Van Gundy's accurate on that. Now, I don't know why he just randomly threw that out there. Did somebody say to him, hey, he's only at really 50% right now? And if he was only at 50%, would he actually be playing?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is you mentioned it earlier, the way they're playing for the first time in Embiid's career, they have a team good enough to win games without needing him on the floor for 40 minutes a game, and they don't have to run the offense through him either. So he doesn't have to rush back. The talent that they have right now and the depth that they have right now, this is a good thing. You don't have to rush him back.
609-403-0973. Well, I think you'll get a test tomorrow night, and you'll see where you kind of stack up with a team that's off to a good start like you. Now, most people didn't think the Bulls were going to be some NBA championship-level team, so they could just kind of be off to a hot start, flash in the pan. But that's how you are right now, right? A lot of people didn't look at you as a very good team. You're off to the hot start, could be the flash in the pan. We'll see how that all unfolds tomorrow. We'll dive deeper into the Sixers tomorrow on the show as they get ready for the Bulls. Coming up, it's the Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day from the guys at Unsportsmanlike, Evan, Michelle, and Canty. That's coming up next. This is the Sports Bash live at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
This is an embarrassment to lose this game this way at home. Come on. You lost to the Browns and you lost to the Panthers. If you're going to power rank worst losses of the season, they may have 1 and 2. This is a joke what the Packers did yesterday.
Evan Cohen said that on Unsportsmanlike. It's the Unsportsmanlike moment of the day, brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center. Find fall closeout savings on 2025s and select pre-owned RVs. Shop now before they're gone. Whitehorse RV, your RV adventure starts here. I've been saying it the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm not buying into Green Bay, and you saw why yesterday. You saw against the Browns a couple of weeks ago. You saw against Dallas. 40-40 against Dallas. You couldn't get one stop. You couldn't put away a bad Dallas team. Look, I know Dallas has a good offense, yada, yada, yada. I hear it all the time. Well, when push came to shove against Philly, they couldn't score enough points. You know why? Because the Cowboys are a joke and the Eagles are a Super Bowl-level team. Green Bay, I don't think is. I've been saying it all along. I know, Josh, you've been on Team Packers. I'm on Team Lions. I don't know what side of the coin you're on there, Pete. But to me, the Packers, they don't have that number one wide receiver. They just don't worry me offensively. Too inconsistent at the quarterback position. And now they've lost
Kraft for the year.
Yeah,
And defensively, they're not. I mean, they have Parsons, obviously, and he's won them a few games, but they really
I
don't get to the
contend when
quarterback
they
all
got
that much.
Micah Parsons, they got taken from a level that they just could not meet expectation-wise.
Well, the problem goes back to what you said before, Mike, which has to do, I think, with the quarterback. I think we are now seeing this year the reason why a lot of the experts, the draft gurus, they were down on Jordan Love because it seems like the young man has a ceiling. It seems like that he got to a certain level and he can't get beyond it. And
did you see the play yesterday he tried to make? He extended the play, scrambled, then he throws across his body into the end zone, and the camera pans to the end zone, thinking that there's going to be a Packer there to make the play. It's a Panther who drops the interception, by the way.
And that goes back to
that
his
was
problem.
an awful play.
And that goes back to the problem at Utah State, was that he led the nation in interceptions this final year. But the Packers believed in his potential. That's why they drafted him. And now you're starting to learn that, for as much credit as we have given Matt LaFleur over the years, guys like myself, I got to admit, maybe LaFleur isn't the great offensive coach that we all thought he was.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think Love has special traits. He's just not consistent enough. But I will say, I think one of the problems with Green Bay is they don't have the guy. And when you look at these other teams, Philadelphia, A.J. Brown, you go to Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, they've got guys that when you have to make a play, those guys can make a play. And you don't give your quarterback that guy, now you're asking him to make a play. And I don't know that Jordan Love can make the play. I think he needs, again, it's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. Can Jalen Hurts make the play, or does it help that he has A.J. Brown?
Both.
It helps that he has A.J. Brown. Yes, Jared Goff. I don't think many people look at Jared Goff as special, but he's got special guys around him.
Correct.
And that elevates him. Jordan Love doesn't have special guys around
And
him.
now,
he has good players around him, not great.
And now with the loss of Tucker Kraft, I think it knocks him down a major notch. Mike, you've been saying for weeks that you believed in the Lions. And, while the Lions had a very much closer than expected game versus the Vikings yesterday, I think we all walk out of yesterday saying the Vikings, the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, the Lions is the apex of those teams. Everybody else is kind of hanging out.
Yeah, look, the Lions is not a great loss. I mean, but it's a division game. You're going to lose division games. Now at home, not as, excited about them losing at home. But still, it's better than losing against the Browns and the Carolina Panthers at home. So I think Evan Cohen is right, and that is our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. It's brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center. Shop now before they're gone at Whitehorse RV. Your RV adventure starts here. Don't forget, unsportsmanlike tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, it's another chance for you to qualify for 99 bottles right now. Caller 7-609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7. You are entered for this year's 99 bottles party. It's going to be at Maynard's at Margate on Wednesday, November 26th. You must be present to win any of our prizes, which include Club Box Eagle seats to see the Eagles Commanders game this season at Lincoln Financial Field, Sixers tickets, Flyers tickets. We got Phillies prize packs, tickets to go see area concerts from all over South Jersey, Philadelphia, and more. We got tickets from all over this area. Caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. Good luck.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. That's where we are today and every Monday. Got a full bar there, Peachy. What do you think?
Hey, college hoops already started.
Think that's what they're all watching?
No. Nope.
All right, we're live at the Fanatic Sportsbook. It is Football at 4. A lot going on in Eagle Land, even after the bye. Let's get down to business right now. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, joins me right now as we take a look at everything Eagles as they get ready to head back into game mode. They'll play the Packers on Monday Night Football right here on 97.3 ESPN next Monday. But, Moshe, we woke up this morning to a trade. I'm sure you and I, we were already awake, but some people out there, they woke up and saw the Eagles had already made some moves. Let's start with the move they made today. Jaelan Phillips for a third-round pick. Moshe, initial reaction is?
Say that again, Mike. I'm sorry.
Initial reaction to Jaelan Phillips for a third-round pick is?
Good move. Really good move. Adds in an area that, they've been trying to upgrade since the start of, since the offseason, since camp, since losing Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. I think that this will have a widespread impact on the defense as long as Jaelan Phillips can stay healthy and is as impactful of a pass rusher as he can be. I'm not going to hold the Miami stats against him this year and even last because he's on such a lousy defense and probably gets double-teamed a lot. He will not get double-teamed on the Philadelphia Eagles front. You got Jalen Carter, you got Moro Jomo, you got Nolan Smith who will come back. So he'll reap the benefits of one-on-ones, and he's been a very good pass rusher when he's had those opportunities. But, obviously his health is his biggest issue. He's dealt with the Achilles injury, the ACL injury, the injuries going back to college, the moped accident that he had, the wrist injury, the concussions. He retired from college football at one point before coming back. So as long as he's healthy and then he gives them what I think, Mike, is a widespread impact because I believe it'll let Vic Fangio go back to leaning heavier on a four-man rush. And I wrote about that on Philly Voice today on why that's so important because clearly Howie has not been able to do much at the outside cornerback spot opposite Mitchell other than a dart throw at Jaire Alexander and then, bolstering the slot position with Michael Carter too in case they need to move Cooper to Gene outside. But without doing much there, I think Vic would like to play a lot more zone. He's played so much more man coverage this year because he's blitzed more this year. And I think Vic would love to be the guy who in the Super Bowl never had to dial up a single blitz because his front four got home all the time.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about how he fits in because you got Nolan Smith coming back. You got Jaelan Hunt. You got Josh Uche, Brandon Graham. That's really five guys there. Does Jaelan Phillips go to the top of the Eagles pass rush list?
Well, Vic likes a three-man rotation, okay? And it doesn't matter who plays the most snaps. But, Jaelan Phillips and Nolan Smith, when he gets back, are your sort of top two guys. And Jaelan Hunt will get in there. He's starting to play better as well. And the snaps might differ a little bit here and there from game to game, but those will be your big three. Now, he may adjust a little bit and figure out a way to get Uche and Brandon Graham on the field when he can, sort of like your backup pass rush line, which he has had before. But I don't, at this point, as long as Smith, Hunt, and Phillips are healthy, I don't think you're going to see a ton of Uche and Brandon Graham unless those top three guys, for whatever reason, aren't getting the job done.
Right. So, I mean, you look at what Jaelan Phillips brings. You just talked about it. He's not going to get double teamed a lot. You would wonder if Vic Fangio knows that he can do some things with him. Has he ever played next to a guy in the league of Jalen Carter? Like when those early Miami teams that Vic played for, I mean, I know right now that they don't have anything close to Jalen Carter, but if he's getting one-on-one opportunities, I guess my question is, does this take this Eagles defense to another level?
I didn't go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that when he had 6.5 sacks in 8 games 2 years ago with Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator in Miami, I think that was Christian Wilkins' last year in Miami. I'll go back and check. But he has played next to a pretty formidable interior defensive lineman. So not now, again, Jalen Carter is a very, very good. But, yeah, Miami was 2023. That was Christian Wilkins' last year, and Wilkins himself had 9 sacks. So you can see how that guy ate up double teams and allowed Jaelan Phillips to have a good year. So you can see a similar effect here in Philadelphia. Jalen Carter gets double teamed a lot. And even though Jalen Carter has not had the type of year this year that he did last year, he's still someone that the offenses have to worry about and have to double team.
I have a feeling, right, the second half of this year, you might see a better version of Jalen Carter, which might mean that you might get a interesting pass rush here if he can stay healthy. That's been the big problem.
I mean, that's what the Eagles are banking on, Mike. I mean, there's no doubt that there's no huge splash move here like Myles Garrett or Hendrickson because they have what they think are the pieces.
So I was going to ask, like, is this a big enough move? Did you think bigger, or is this about where you thought they would end up with?
I mean, this is where I thought they would. I did not think the Myles Garrett rumor was realistic. I'm not saying they didn't call and check in. I think there might have been, as great as Myles Garrett is, and you find a place and make it work. Jaelan Phillips is a little bit more of an ideal fit just because he's played in this defense before. He can rush, and I imagine he dropped while he was an overhang player or an outside linebacker for Vic Fangio, whereas I'm not quite sure Myles Garrett, playing under Jim Schwartz the last few years, he's a hand in the dirt, go get the quarterback guy. Same thing with Trey Hendrickson. I don't think those guys just come in and adjust to Vic's defense the way Phillips will. Now, Garrett, you don't really – you just say, fine, I'm not dropping you. You're just that great. I'll figure it out. And I'm sure Vic would have figured it out. I don't want to make it sound like Garrett's a bad fit. I'm just saying Jaelan has played in the scheme, so he made the most sense as far as reasonable, realistic targets out there where you're not giving up all these first-round picks and paying all this money out.
Talking with Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 for the Inside the Birds podcast. The big trade this morning, Jaelan Phillips. So now you've got Jaelan Phillips. You've got Nolan Smith when he returns. What happens with Jalix Hunt here?
Yeah, I mean, Jalix Hunt has been coming on as of late. He's a good run defender. I don't think his snap share is going to decrease exponentially. I think it's going to be a sort of a 33% split when it's all is said and done between those top 3 guys, again, as long as they're all healthy and productive. But also, Jaelan Phillips with his injury history, you could understand if he doesn't play as many if they're able to get some leads and they don't need him out there rushing the passer all the time. They may get Jalix Hunt on the field more in those situations, just to keep some wear and tear off of Phillips.
All right, let's get your thoughts. You mentioned before. By the way, you rudely did not answer my text on Saturday.
Oh, you know what? I was working all day. I actually did.
If you were doing something that was like an emergency, you'll make me feel bad.
No,
but I was in Philly.
I'm sorry.
I'm driving over the bridge. I said, you know what? I'm going to be driving right through Moshe's area. Let me give my buddy a text message. And I got
the
crickets.
Heisman, huh?
I got crickets.
It's my bad. I was also pulling double duty, so I was working, and the Eagles were obviously making moves that day with Jaire.
Well,
and then my daughter at a football tournament.
They had not made the trade yet. You know when it happened? I actually stopped at 8 and Sands Brewery on my way home. Okay, if you know where that is, like in Woodbury. So I stopped there, and as I was sitting down, I got a text message. And it said the Eagles have traded for Jaire Alexander. And I said, maybe Moshe is a little busy with that. So now I can get your reaction here instead of asking you right next to me with a nice cold beer.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it, to be honest with you. I get it because it costs them nothing, but I don't get it because why? I mean, what are you expecting to get from Jaire Alexander at this stage of his career when two teams have already said no thank you to him? One team, I think I heard you mention this. I mean, the Ravens have been terrible on defense, and they decided no thanks either. And, they wanted him, Mike, because they wanted to be able to play him outside, opposite Nate Wiggins, their second-year corner, who they drafted in the first round. And then that would be able to let them play Marlon Humphrey in the slot and then keep Kyle Williams at safety. Kyle Williams is a really good slot also, though. So they have kind of an embarrassment of riches there. But they can't. They couldn't play him. They didn't. He had the knee surgery. It didn't work out for him. So Humphrey's going to play outside. Wiggins going to play outside. Williams will play the slot, which is, I think, what they did last game. And Jaire became an untenable 53-man roster spot for them. And with the Eagles already having a logjam of Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo and trying to get Ja'Cory Bennett on the field, I get it because it's a dart throw. But, I mean, I feel like any move you should make could make your team better.
Yeah. Do you make a trade for a guy that you then end up cutting?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, someone's going to have to go because they're bringing him in. Is it him?
That's my point, though, is like exactly like, do you trade for a guy and then cut somebody else? Or do you just say, we traded for you for a 6th-round pick and we're just going to cut you? I mean, because I kind of agree with you. It's worth the flyer. And I've heard the whole Christian Parker worked with him in Green Bay. Maybe he feels like, I don't know, are you of the opinion that you're just better with Kelee Ringo there, keeping what you have? Or do you look at, no, you play Jaire Alexander and keep Cooper in the slot? Or, like, you got Jaire Alexander and Michael Carter. Do those two guys factor into this defense at all?
I would think Michael Carter, younger, potentially healthier, would factor into the defense. Because at least even if he's not playing, if you're keeping Cooper in the slot, you can use Michael Carter as a dime. You can play a lot more either big nickel or dime because Carter was a safety at Duke. I mean, he's kind of a hybrid safety nickel anyway, right? So whatever you want to call it, big nickel, dime, you can play either or package, which will come in handy against some of the teams you're about or the spread out passing offenses you're about to play. Packers, although they took a hit with Kraft, they still can, and they took a hit with Golden too. They can ordinarily spread you out. Obviously, the Lions can. The Cowboys absolutely can. And the Chargers absolutely can. And then when you get into the playoffs, you're going to face teams like the Rams maybe again or the Bucs who have, multiple options at wide receiver / flex tight end that you could use an effective dime package against.
Well, I'll tell you. So they end up getting 2 corners and an edge guy here. And obviously – Jaelan Phillips, you would hope, makes a big impact. I seem to agree with you. I don't know that Jaire Alexander has much left in the tank, which is sad because he's only like 28 years old.
Yeah.
But do you agree that you think that Kelee Ringo is probably a better option than him?
I think I've heard everybody saying that today, and I keep saying, hold on a second. They traded a 4th-round pick for Ja'Cory Bennett for a reason. He's been on IR. Got to get him. I think he was in the practice window before the bye week. That, to me, is the key to what happens next. I got to imagine they're going to get a chance to take a look at Ja'Cory Bennett as soon as they feel like he's ready to go. Okay.
I agree with you there. Yeah. I've been a big fan of giving Bennett the opportunity and see if he changes anything here. Yeah.
And I think if Bennett works out, then that's a best case scenario, and you can keep Cooper DeJean in the slot, and you can use depth with Michael Carter. But if Bennett doesn't work out, I don't know that the answer is going back to Kelee Ringo. I don't think there's fact finding here with Kelee Ringo. I think Vic Fangio has pretty much said he just needs to play more football, which is Vic Fangio speak of saying, I don't want him to play that much more football for me, but he's far behind, right? I remember he had the job, then lost it. He was the 4th corner coming out of camp behind Adoree Jackson and Ja'Cory Bennett and Quinyon Mitchell. So I don't think he's the answer at all.
What happens to Jahad Campbell now with you made a trade for an edge rusher, right? So is he a backup linebacker to Nakobe Dean? Do they split time? It would seem his edge rushing snaps are now gone.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know what they're going to do. Clearly they like having Nakobe Dean's leadership on the field, and I think it does make a difference as far as getting the defense set correctly. It takes eases the pressure on the rest of the guys, especially the signal caller guys on the defense, to have to align everyone. So there's a clear benefit in that regard to Nakobe Dean being on the field. But you lose a lot of athleticism. You just lose a freak of nature who was playing well. So I don't think his snaps are just going to totally go away and vanish, and he becomes kind of this spare part. But I do think Nakobe Dean's going to continue to see a decent number of reps at the off-ball linebacker spot.
Yeah, I know, moving forward here, that's going to be a storyline. I would assume the first game, if he's not out there a whole heck of a lot, hey, what's going on with Jahide Campbell? But it's like, it's a weird spot because it's not like Dean is playing poorly, right? It's not like you put him back out there, hey, he was the guy, you don't lose your job, and he's gone out there and not performed. He's gone back and just performed. Like, it's not like so. But Campbell, you can make an argument that performed just as well, if not slightly better than Nakobe. Who's got a bigger ceiling? I don't know.
Well,
probably Campbell.
Yes, Campbell has the way bigger ceiling because he's a freak of nature athlete, and he's already played well in year one. Like, think about what you thought about Quinyon Mitchell last year, playing that well in year one, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Cooper DeJean. So the sky's the limit for the kid. But you're trying to win a Super Bowl. You're trying to keep your defense really intact. And obviously, Nakobe Dean is really, really good at getting everybody on the same page, aligned, keying and diagnosing. And that matters. And so, I think, you'll probably, again, you'll see him split. You'll see him figure it out. But it does feel like they need that element from Nakobe Dean.
All right, you wrote an article over at phillyvoice.com about the self-scouting. This is what you generally do during the off week. You kind of look at everything. Let's take a look at some of the things that they can maybe fix here or tweak or add as they get ready for the second half run. One of the things you wrote about is incorporating more of an outside run game. We saw a little glimpse of that in the game last time we saw them on the field. And does that mean that you have a bigger package for Tank Bigsby?
Well, I think that both of those things are things that the Eagles should continue to work off of. And I want to be perfectly clear, whether you're under center, whether you're in shotgun, whether you're running inside, whether you're running outside, whether it's Saquon or Tank, what matters is that you execute. None of these things is a magic wand, okay? But as I talked to some guys after the game, last game, when you do these things and put it on tape, now you give the opponent extra stuff that they have to practice for, and that helps alleviate the predictability part that people were getting into. It's not that the Eagles were too predictable; they were not executing well. But when you add stuff on tape that you make your defense have to prepare for, then you can literally go for any one of those things you showed at any single time and go to it while the defense doesn't exactly know where you might be going with it. So, yeah, I think all of those things are things they can continue to do, should continue to do. None of it has to be foundational, but it's just stuff that you do and can do well.
What about A.J. Brown in his role? How can they, tweak, change, elevate, make him more impactful?
Say who again? I'm sorry.
A.J. Brown,
A.J.
their wide
Brown.
receiver.
Never heard of him.
Talented wide receiver.
Wasn't sure who you were referring to. I think A.J. Brown's got to be A.J. Brown. You get him the ball. I would like to see I feel like lately his route tree has become like the deep comebacks, the curls, sort of like not as diverse as when he first got to the Eagles. I think they got to get back to manufacturing some touches for him as opposed to letting him come through the flow of the game and get him involved. It will probably make him a little happier, but it's not like you're greasing a squeaky wheel. You're actually doing something good for your offense.
You wrote about, this was before the trade, about finding your best four-man pass rush. What is that best four-man pass rush now?
Yeah, I think right now it's, if it's 3rd and 5 against the Packers and you're jogging out that four-man rush and you don't want to play man, you want to play zone, it's got to be Jaelan Phillips on one end. It's got to be, I would say, are we assuming Nolan Smith is healthy?
Yeah, and I don't know. Is there any shot he plays Monday night or no?
It's possible. We have to see if he's out of practice this week. So,
he's eligible though, right?
Yeah. Well, no, he's not. He has not been active onto the 53. He's still on I don't even think they put him in the practice window yet, Mike. I think he's still on IR. So, but either way, the point is their overall best four-man rush will be Nolan Smith and Jaelan Phillips on the edges, and then Jomo and Jalen Carter in the middle.
All right. Well, let's see. I thought I saw something about him. Now, they did place Aziz Ojulari on injured reserve, Marcus Epps. Real quick, before we get out of here, would you think that they are done making moves, or do you think they could actually trade some of their own players to try to incorporate some of the picks back?
Well, I would not put anything past Howie at this point. I could see him trying to recoup picks, but I really think you're not trying to subtract here. You got too many guys with injury issues to start like saying, oh, we're deep here, so I can just pawn off this guy and pawn off that guy. So unless somebody's going to blow Howie out the water for Josh Uche. What did I hear Josh say? Did I hear Josh say he wouldn't trade Uche for anything lower than a 6th-round pick or something like that?
It was something like I wouldn't trade him for a 6th-round pick.
I don't know what Josh thinks that Josh Uche's value around the NFL is. I mean, he's had a nice season for the Eagles, but there's not a big demand for, what has he got, 1.5 sacks and a couple pressures. I mean, let's be realistic about Josh Uche here.
At this point, you've got Jaelan Phillips coming in. You would think Brandon Graham kind of takes any of Uche's maybe, and then Uche, if you just get a 6th-round pick, it's like, hey, you take it. By the way,
I'm making fun. I think Josh is basically saying you want to hold on to Uche, unless somebody blows the doors off you for him, which is not going to happen.
Tim McManus wrote this back on September 24th, that the plan for Nolan Smith was to return after the team's November 2nd bye. Now, they have not opened any practice windows, but I guess that was the time frame that I had remember seeing that he could potentially be ready to play.
From what I understood, though, it was an optimistic time frame. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but that was sort of earliest if everything goes well scenario, which it could. We'll see.
That is where I saw the fact that he could have played.
Remember, they practice Thursday, by the way, because it's a Monday night game. You will not get an injury report on Wednesday like you normally do.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there's Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, Philly Voice, and he's got self-scouting things that you can look at. The full article over at phillyvoice.com. We just kind of handpicked a couple of them, but you can read all of his bye-week self-scouting keys to the Eagles' success in the second half at phillyvoice.com. All right, Mosher's back on Wednesday as the Eagles get ready for the Green Bay Packers, who just lost to the Carolina Panthers at home this past Sunday. It was a good week for the Eagles to trade. Both teams in front of them lost, and now they are the number 1 seed in the NFC. Thanks, Moshe. Check your messages next time.
My bad.
See ya. See you, man. All right, Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast joins me here every Monday and Wednesday with Football at 4. Tomorrow, Adam Kaplan is in the house, and then on Thursday, now I don't know, maybe Thursday it'll be DeCecco, maybe Friday it'll be DeCecco. Him and Adam are kind of trading back and forth, so we'll see. But I know Adam will be on tomorrow's show here on the Sports Bash. What else? We got Scott. Our latest qualifier is Scott and Kate May. Congratulations, Scott and Kate May. We'll see you at Maynard's in Margate, November 26th. Got another chance for you to qualify coming up on the Sports Bash. We had a great day Friday. We had Halloween, and people were sending pictures of their Halloween costumes in to qualify.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So who was the winner? Do you remember?
We had a bunch of people that we ended up taking a handful of people. We had kept open a bunch of slots, because we do 4 a day for 3 weeks. That only gets us to 80. So we had a bunch of slots that we've been kind of holding that do like special fun days. So we did the Halloween day to help get us to 99.
Some of these costumes these kids were walking around with on Friday night, I had no idea what I was looking at.
So I got a quick story. Josh, you ready for this? Friday night.
I'm ready. Josh may not be, but I'm ready.
Friday night, I got home from work. Now, mind you, it's dark out now, okay? I got home from work.
This already sounds like a scary story.
Now, my girlfriend is away, so I'm by myself at the house. I get home from work. I turn on the light. Now, we never get trick-or-treaters. Haven't had any trick-or-treaters in the entire time we've lived in this house, 7 years. I'm on the phone with my girlfriend. I hear the doorbell ring.
And you got no candy.
Nothing. I just got home from work. I got no candy, nothing. I hear the doorbell ring. I said, I think someone's ringing the doorbell. She says, it is Halloween. I said, we don't have any candy here, do we? She goes, no. So I just kind of scurried into the kitchen looking for something candy. Well, then the doorbell rang again. I said, let me go, open the door at least. I feel bad. I open the door. I see these 4 little kids, and they were so disappointed walking off my front porch, down my walkway. And I was going to open the door and say, hey, listen, I just got home from work. Let me see if I can get you something. Now, if I would have got them like something, I don't know, a bag of chips, Sun Chips, crackers, an apple.
I mean,
don't give out those apples.
Well, that has sufficed.
Yeah.
Or is it better that I just didn't open the door?
Yeah, it's probably better off you just
the
pretend
light
like
was
you
on
were.
in my house, so you knew I was home.
Yeah.
It's poor.
Was the porch light on?
No, porch light was off.
See, that's usually the sign that you don't go to that house back in the day. Like, you don't, the porch light is off. That's just like a universal sign that we are not involved in this.
Now, is this going to make you be more prepared next year?
No.
Or no? So next year you still could get caught with the same thing.
No, but I'll tell you what.
Caught with your pants
yesterday
down.
during the football game, some young kid, he couldn't have been 18 years old, dressed in a suit, knocked on my door, grassroots, knocked on my door and said, hey, just reminding you to vote on Tuesday.
Tomorrow. Yep.
And I felt terrible for that kid because I said, can you imagine if I was some nut job
Oh,
that
my
has a
gosh.
strong political view? And this poor
Started
guy
arguing with
is
him.
trying to get me to vote for one party over the other. Can you imagine that? I felt terrible for that kid. He handed me one of those things to put on your doorknob.
Yeah.
Which I have 12 of them handed to me already or hung on my doorknob. So I said, thanks, buddy. Have a great night. But he did it during the middle of the football game.
That's
I
poor.
mean, that guy's just asking for it.
Yeah, that's a bad
He's
timing.
going up to any random door. Because I'm unaffiliated. I have no party. I have my own brains. I have no party.
I am curious. Was it a good suit?
He was. I don't know if he was in a suit. I think he had a tie on and a sweater over top the tie.
I mean,
maybe he'll be running.
But he
for
was
president
asking me
one
to
day.
vote for one particular party, and he's just like, I just remind you to vote for this party on Tuesday. And I was like, dude, you're lucky it was me. Can you imagine during the football game if you went to the wrong party's house?
Yep.
Woo! All right. Nuggets cost the Blue Jays a World Series. We'll explain.
I believe Jeff Hoffman did that, but okay.
I'll explain. Coming up next on the Sports Bash.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, 4:35. We're going to get into it. Time for Knicks Nuggets here on the Sports Bash. Now, Nuggets and I went to the Temple ECU game on Saturday. Then Nuggets went to the hockey game, Flyers, bad decision. Then comes to my house at like 10:30. Gets dropped off after the Flyers game. I'm watching the World Series.
Man,
now,
Nuggets got chauffeured everywhere. You drove him up.
Yep.
He got driven back.
Yeah.
He got chauffeured everywhere.
I went to watch a little bit of the World Series with my buddy for like the first 4 innings. We went someplace. Then I came home to watch the rest of it. Like 2 outs at the bottom of the ninth. I'm all ready. Jeff Hoffman's on the mound.
You got your champagne.
I'm ready to go.
Yep.
And then I hear a knock on my door. And at the same time, Jeff Hoffman delivers a pitch that got delivered over the left field fence. So I said I blame Nuggets. Otherwise, the Blue Jays would be World Series champions. That's how I see it, Nuggets. That's how I see it.
I understand. Listen, I appreciate all the driving around, everyone who chauffeured me over the weekend. You know, I'll take it. You know, you got to take it when you can get it. I appreciate let me stay at your house as I filled in for the Schweiner over the weekend. But you can't blame me for this. That's Jeff Hoffman. It's in their DNA. They played for the Philadelphia Phillies. It doesn't leave you. You find a way to choke. So I don't feel bad at all. I'm not gonna take the blame for the Blue Jays losing. I'm not taking that one. I'll take the Flyers. I'll take the disgrace of Temple football, where that atmosphere was just awful, and I'll take all those losses. But I will not take the Toronto one.
Blue
I will
Jays
not
did
take
choke
that
that away, man. They did choke it.
Now, a lot of people talking about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa not getting a good enough lead off third base. There's a lot of schools of thought here. You know, a lot of former players, they're taking his side by saying that's the way it's taught in spring training. You can't get doubled off third base. We're going to have Dave Gallagher on coming up next hour. He's going to talk about, you know, that whole thing. But a lot of former players are taking his side. Then you got a lot of these, you know, people who are just rando fans. They think that he should have got a better lead. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, what happens. You know, obviously they lost, but you could make a strong argument. I said if he didn't slide, he would have beat the throw out. I think
that was close anyway.
Slowed him down.
It was close anyway. Like that could have been called either way, and whatever the call on the field was, if it was called the other way, I think it still would have stood.
Well, if he got a little bit better of a secondary lead, a little bit more bounce, that's what people were saying, was he didn't get a good enough lead, and the play was so close that if he had just a little bit better of a
lead. That's like one step, basically, one foot.
But then you had a lot of people like Whit Merrifield, former Philly, right? He tweeted out that he did nothing wrong. He played it exactly the way you're supposed to play it, because they teach you in spring training that you cannot get doubled off third base.
Yeah, and listen, I think you should wear it a little bit too here. I mean, you didn't give any of the kids candy. You had no candy for the kids. I mean, I think this is what you should wear. I think you should take the blame. You had no candy for the kids. You should be taking the blame. I'm just saying. I heard you on the other side. You're talking about not giving candy to the kids.
Muncie was pretty far away from the bag.
Yeah. I was like, wait a second. What does that have to do with this guy's lead?
Well, what I'm saying is you're blaming me for the loss.
No.
You're blaming me.
I said I felt bad about it. So bad that I opened up the door to try to apologize to the kid.
But it's not going to make him next year buy candy. He's still going to get caught with his pants down next year when it happens again.
This is what you get. You get blamed because you were ready to see Toronto win the World Series for not giving the kids the candy. This is what you get. You get the Dodgers winning the World Series. I blame Mike Gill. I'm turning the tide here.
Because I didn't have Halloween candy.
Because
I haven't had Halloween candy in any year that I've ever lived in this house. Nobody ever knocks on our door, and the porch light was off.
Listen, there's some 4 disappointed kids who probably won't be at your door next year.
Good.
They probably won't be there next year. You're the guy who didn't have the candy.
I was about to give them Sun Chips.
Oh, God. Never going back to that
party
house.
foul right there.
So, how about salt and vinegar potato chips?
That's
even worse.
Party foul.
It's even worse.
Doritos? I don't know. I don't know what's in there.
Got to be some sort
and the
of
apple
chocolate.
idea. Just, now you're the weird guy on the block if you give him the apple.
Well, it's
Come on in, kids.
Because I had 4 apples. So there was 4 kids. I was looking for something that I had 4 of.
Listen, I'm blaming you for the Toronto loss because you didn't give the kids candy. That's why they lost. All right, moving along. Let's get into the Nuggets. Nugget number 1. Howie Roseman just does not stop working. That guy working the phones. He's going to be working them probably until the deadline, until the last very second tomorrow. They acquired Jaelan Phillips this morning. First thing when I woke up, I see Jaelan Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles from the Miami Dolphins. We talked about it a little bit yesterday in the locker room that the Eagles had to make another trade. They needed an edge rusher, especially Nolan Smith still out. We think he's going to come back soon. The practice window has not been opened yet, but this is a fantastic move. A low-risk, high-reward move. Another one of those type of trades that Howie Roseman has made. Listen, he's had some injury issues throughout his tenure, but he did play with Vic Fangio in Miami at one point, and he had a really good year under Vic Fangio. So if he can stay healthy, I think this is a massive, massive trade for the Eagles that can make a significant impact going forward.
See, I'm not going massive. I labeled it as a ground rule double. Like, you still got a runner on second, you still got a runner in scoring position, but you had a guy on first. He probably could have scored, but the ground rule double puts him on third, which means somebody else still has to knock those guys home. I think he's good enough to hit the double, but he's going to need to stay healthy. He's going to need to show that he can play at the level that he played with, a couple of years ago. He hasn't been the player that he was a couple of years ago because Achilles injury, ACL injury. So we're just assuming that he can go back and be that guy. So I think he still hits the double, but he can be the guy that gets knocked in if he shows he's healthy, and that because Jalen Carter is now playing next to him, I'm getting one-on-one. I can really be the guy who, knocks everybody home here. Until that, he's the guy who hits the double and the ball gets stuck in the wall.
Yeah, and I love that Nolan Smith will be back when he's here, and then you have Jalen Carter in the middle, and then BG. Having him around BG, I think, helps too. So there's a lot of positives surrounding Jaelan Phillips. Remember, he's coming from Miami. They're a dumpster fire down in Miami right now in South Beach. So I think getting him into this building, BG coming back, being a leader on that offensive or on that defensive line, I think that's massively important because I think Phillips can give you a lot. And the fact that he has experience under Fangio, I think that is part of the reason why I think it might be a little bit more than a ground rule double. I think it could be a triple there, Mike. I think it could be a triple.
I hope so.
If he stays healthy, and that's the big if.
Got to be healthy. That's the big thing. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Jalix Hunt when Smith is back. How do these guys all get their snaps?
And credit to Howie Roseman. I mean, he knew that the pass rush was a problem. He tried to address it with Zadarius Smith a few months ago. That didn't work. And so credit to Howie Roseman. He's making trades.
I bleed for this city, he said. I bleed for this city.
He did say that.
He did.
Yeah.
During the Super Bowl parade, by the way.
He did.
I got hit in the head with a beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the only guy making trades right now. I mean, I know the deadline's tomorrow, but this guy's
hey,
I mean,
listen, they go out and get Jaire Alexander, low risk, high reward. I mean, he's been inactive for 5 games. Like, he was a healthy scratch 5 times for the Baltimore Ravens, where that defense is not very good at all. So that's a little bit of a concern, but it gives you more depth. And, hey, he worked under one of the coaches on the Eagles staff, the defensive backs coach. He played under him in Green Bay. He played under him. So I think that's another positive. Guys are familiar with some of the coaching staff here. You get Alexander and you get a guy like Phillips in. I think that is what's key about this, is that they have some familiarity with some of the coaches. It could come in. If they stay healthy, maybe they can make a positive impact.
Hope so. We'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to how they play all these guys. And one of the things we keep wondering is what's going to happen with Jahad Campbell now.
Yeah.
Where do his snaps kind of go?
Yeah, where do they go? Indeed. All right, let's move along. Nugget number 2. This one's a fun one. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this. An old buddy, we'll stay in South Beach. Gabe Kapler, who's been the assistant GM of the Miami Marlins, is now getting promoted to general manager of the Miami Marlins. So he's been a player, he's been a manager, he's been an assistant GM. Now he is a GM, and he also puts out TikToks, thirst trap TikToks all the time. So Gabe Kapler, this is a fascinating one. Can he bring the Marlins out of nothing? Because it feels like they rebuild every 2 years. They get decent, they get some good players, they trade them away, they become absolute superstars. This is a fascinating one. The fact he is now the GM of the Miami Marlins.
I would say this move is optimal. That would be, I mean, That was always his phrase here. Oh, that's optimal. Look, he's a very analytics-based guy. So if you are if you're the Marlins and you're looking to stay down that road and you want to go heavy analytics, he would be the guy to bring in. That's why the Phillies brought him here. The Phillies want it to be heavy analytics, so they brought him in here.
So maybe he's better suited for a front office job than a clubhouse manager. I think so.
Listen. Well, he bought into or almost brought analytics to Philadelphia. One of the reasons why they hired him is because of how heavy involved in analytics he was. That got him that job. Now, with the way that front offices are so heavily involved with making the lineups and deciding on who's going to pitch in what situation, he can still kind of do that, but from the GM's office. So it is kind of an interesting evolution for him is, hey, I can still have my hand in putting lineups together and deciding who's going to pitch, and I can also have my hand in which players I want to kind of do that.
Yeah, I think that's why this could work for Miami, but they've just traded everybody. Every time they develop a good player, I wonder how his roster building is going to be, right? Like, he was good in San Francisco, had 100-win seasons there as a manager. It's a little bit different when you are the GM. And I think you make a great
$70
point.
$70 million. That's his budget, $70 million.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, he was the assistant GM over the past year or so. So this one's an interesting one. To say that he is now a general manager, I think if you told us that however many years ago when he was the Phillies manager, he's a GM in the league now, I don't know if I would have believed you.
Probably not, but I'm not shocked by this because the Marlins are a team that needs to think outside the box to try to, build their team.
They've brought in everybody, to say the least. Derek Jeter, Gabe Kapler. It's a dumpster fire all over the place on all those South Beach teams at this point. Miami Dolphins, Marlins, now Gabe Kapler is general manager. All right, moving along. Final nugget. I do want to talk about one particular name in Major League Baseball that has opted out of his contract, and it could be a Philadelphia Philly. Now, MLB.com named the Phillies, Red Sox, and Tigers potential suitors and potential fits for Alex Bregman, who opted out of his deal with the Boston Red Sox today. Played in 114 games last year, but when he did play, he had an 822 OPS with 18 home runs. He could be the guy to replace Alec Bohm. And remember, everyone wants them to make a couple of different moves here throughout the offseason. They need something different. Could it be Alex Bregman? It very well could be, and that could mean Alec Bohm out the door. He opted out, Mike. What do you make of it?
31 years old. I mean, he's had some injury issues himself. I mean, you get to that point, though, where what's that age where you have to, decide, I don't want to give that guy big money. Bregman's the kind of guy, when I give him 3 years. Now, keep in mind, 3 years, you're getting him at 31, 32, 33. Okay, those 3 years, I think I could still get some pretty good play. He's a winner. He's a championship level. Is he better than Alec Bohm? Of course he is. I said earlier, though, I think what the Phillies really need to do is it's not the focus on moving Alec Bohm. It's improving the 4-hole. And if that means you keep Bohm and he's hitting 6th, 7th, 8th, look at these guys. Ernie Clement, he's no better than Alec Bohm, right? Bohm, what he's good at is putting the ball in play, driving runs in. So if he's doing that, hitting 7th or 8th in your lineup, that's Ernie Clement, right? Ernie Clement's a guy who just had a bunch of hits. He doesn't hit for power. He's not a third baseman that hits 35 home runs. You don't need the power from the 6, 7, 8 spot lineup. The Phillies need to focus on finding a better option in the 4-hole. And if that's moving Bohm out of here because you got a better third baseman, so be it. I'm not hell-bent on moving Bohm just to move him. I'm looking to upgrade the number 4 spot in the batting order, the number 5 spot in the batting order, and having those guys bounce down 2 spots each. So Bohm can go from 4 to 6. Whoever's hitting 5th is a JT Realmuto. He now goes from 6 to 8. You got to bounce everybody down almost 2 slots on this team. So you need 2 new bats in this lineup.
Yeah, and they're going to bring up Justin Crawford. He's going to play. Do they bring back Bader? There's a lot of questions here. But Bregman obviously would add to their lineup. It's another thing with him, too, is will he stay healthy? He's got to stay healthy, too. But you're getting him towards the back end of his prime, 31, 32, 33. Yeah, I can work with that. When you get older than that, that's when I'm like, I don't know. That's what you're going to get out of a lot of these players now, right? Turner, Harper, all 33 years of age or a little bit older. Same with Kyle Schwarber. How much are they willing to pay there? But at least Bregman would be a little bit younger than those guys and has championship pedigree too.
And look, but problem last year, he was hurt. He played in 114 games last year, but his numbers in 114 games, all very good. 18 home runs, 273, 360 on base, 821 OPS. I mean, he fits the bill, but he was hurt last year. So you got to start to wonder, okay, when does the injury thing at these guys at 30 years old? Look, I think if you can get him, he's an upgrade over Alec Boehm. I'm not trying to even make that argument. But my point is, if I can move Alec Boehm down in the lineup, that's an upgrade over Alec Boehm. The Alec Boehm that I have hitting 7th is much better than the Alec Boehm that I have hitting 4th.
Yeah, much better down in the lineup. All right, hot stove getting going. It's starting, Mike. We're going to get there. Can't wait for it. 3-pack of nuggets for you today.
Yeah, by the way, coming up in 9 minutes, we're going to talk hot stove. We're going to talk World Series. We're going to talk offseason with Dave Gallagher, former Philly, 9-year Major League Baseball veteran. By the way, Earnshaw, was that not the saddest college football experience you've ever been to?
Yeah, that was rough, man. I hadn't been to a Temple game in a long time. It reminded me when I was about 8 years old going to the games. Nobody there and just dead and getting blown out by ECU. There you go.
Well, they got blown out this week, but that's the sad part is the team has been decent
I
this
know.
year, and there was nobody there.
Nobody.
I said, you literally could say Temple would be better off if they knocked on Rowan's door and said, hey, can we borrow your football stadium for the weekend?
Yeah, no nosebleeds needed when we went to the game on Saturday. None at all.
Ooh, baby. All right, there's the Nuggets today. Thanks, Nick.
All right, peace, guys.
Nuggets are back tomorrow right here on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN. We are at the Fanatic Sportsbook. You can stop out here tonight for the Cowboys and the Cardinals. That's really the big game. It's the only game. No Flyers, no Sixers.
Nope.
It is the start, though, of the college basketball
Villanova,
season.
BYU,
all-day
yes.
marathon going on here. Right now it's the Drake. Hate the Drake. Taking on North Arizona. But it doesn't matter who's playing. We're at the Sportsbook, so you can always play along. It's the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. Oh, right there. It's our 99 bottle sounder. Who is going to join Scott and Kate May? Caller 7 right now. 609-573-3776. Caller 7 right now. You are entered for this year's 99 Bottles party at Maynard's in Margate. Yes, we're going to be live at Maynard's with 99 pairs of tickets and all sorts of prizes. Everybody who qualifies, you're automatically a winner. What do you win? Well, you got to be there to find out. It could be Eagles tickets. It could be Sixers tickets. It could be Flyers tickets. It could be tickets to a concert. It could be tickets to a show in the area. You must be present to win on Wednesday, November 26th at Maynard's in Margate. Right now, caller 7. Here's the number, 609-573-3776. Good luck. Final hour of the show. We're at the Fanatics Sportsbook. Monday Night Football tonight. You can listen on 97.3 ESPN. Cardinals and Cowboys. It was a fun week for the Eagles. They didn't even play, and they moved from the 2 seed to the 1 seed. They made a trade this morning. We'll talk more about that. Grayson's grades coming up at 5:30. But right now, what an epic World Series. And I figured, why not one more time to wrap up the baseball season from a guy who played the game, 9-year veteran, played with the Philadelphia Phillies, among other teams, but just to talk some baseball and then give us some thoughts on the offseason ahead for the Phillies as Dave Gallagher is back as we take one final look at the 2025 Major League Baseball season. Dave, and man, you've probably been around this game for as long as anyone in the listening audience here. You played the game. Have you ever seen a World Series that had so many ups, downs, storylines, and moments?
I loved it. I really did. I was trying to explain to my wife whenever I could get her to pay attention for just an inning or a half inning. She just never liked the game. But I was trying to explain to her the amount of anxiety and pressure that is involved in every pitch and every swing, every moment on defense, and what weight it is on everybody's shoulder. And you're right. There was so many of those moments. And a lot of times guys came out on the good side and a few of them didn't.
It's funny you say that, Dave.
It's
because my girlfriend is she's in Vegas right now. So Saturday night we're watching the game and they load the bases up. She's like, and she's gotten into it. She has gotten into the drama. And she's like, I can't even watch this right now because there is so much drama. And the moment that really stands out is that moment where Toronto loads the bases and everybody's talking about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He doesn't get the jump. Right. And then I've seen a lot of players, former players, saying, no, he did what he's taught to do, stay close to the bag. You don't want to get doubled off. And then the analytic world's got in about how Varsho has only hit X amount of balls to the third baseman. That was a huge moment in the game. How do you kind of see what happened there?
And there's so many intricacies about that play, runner on third, and what his job is. And it's so situational, right? How many outs there are, balls in the dirt. Do you take a risk with no outs? Of course not. Do you take that same risk with 2 outs if it's bounces 7 feet away from the catcher? Probably. But also determined by who's at the bat, right? There's so much. But in that situation, I did see the replay. Third baseman, for whatever reason, was relatively close. But if I'm a base running instructor, this might hit everybody a little sideways. I think no matter what the situation, no matter where that third baseman is playing, I've heard for years, take as much as he gives you. But here's what, even at the major league level, people forget. Be the runner with me for a second. Just use your imagination. You're the runner. The third baseman takes 15 feet away from the bat. All right. But what we don't know is the catcher just slid his right hand along his shin guard, and the third baseman answered by touching the top of his hat. They put a back pick on. So if you get down that 15 feet because he's 15 feet away, you don't know he's going to break to the bag on the pitch. And what do you do as a base runner on the pitch? Your head follows the pitch. It turns. So the third baseman is blind. Third base coach, his job is to make sure he's not rushing in, but that's a late call. Let that day back. So to me, the primary lead should be short because you're going to get what you need in the secondary. And that is what I think he admitted. Maybe I could have gotten a better secondary because, again, I'm going to say intricacy. You either can walk or you can shuffle. But if either one, you walk, you got to land on your right foot as the ball is going through the zone with your weight on the right foot so that you can react forward. All right. If you shuffle, same thing. Land with your weight on the right foot as the ball's going through the zone. Now, if we picture that happening, Varsho hits it. As soon as he sees it on the ground, you're bolting and he's safe.
Well, and to be fair to Kiner-Falefa too, if Rojas doesn't stumble, he's out by multiple feet.
Good point.
The play's only close because Rojas kind of backhanded and stumbled a little bit, and that's the only reason why the play is close. I contend if he didn't slide, he might have been safe.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? I understand what you're saying because sometimes, and that's one of those rare ones where you might be quicker standing.
Yes.
But for a second, let's look at that damn play by Rojas. So I watched a guy years ago in the Mets, Rafael Santana. He almost played the game lazy, but it wasn't really lazy, like Robinson Cano kind of.
Yeah, like
Looked
Bobby
lazy.
Abreu.
Yes, but it really isn't lazy. So what he did is he created a better hop by actually kind of leaning back and using his backhand. This is a guy that's been around a long time. He realized if he comes forward, he might get a little bit of, not a short hop because they're not bad either, but an in-between hop. He takes a step back, gets a cleaner big hop, and then throws a strike to the plate. Just like I was so impressed with Roberts' moves, like him putting Edman in center, taking Pages out, who's their best defender in the outfield, but he wasn't swinging the bat at all. Keeping Edman's bat in, putting Rojas at second. He got the big home run, but even without that, his defense was superb. He made some big plays.
Yeah.
Then he hits I can't even believe, a 3-2 slider, and you hit it out?
Well,
I would love to be able to do that.
One-handed, by the way. And then you mentioned Pages, who somehow, like Kelly Lee, that the left fielder, went over and ran over Kike Hernandez to make that catch in left center field. That was unbelievable.
That's what I'm saying. If Roberts doesn't put him into the game late, we don't know. That's going to have to be a hell of an over-the-shoulder running catch by Kiki. And Pages had to beat on it, and you basically just said, I can't let both of us back off and drop. I'm taller than him. I'm taking this damn thing, and he did. But that's what I'm saying. These little parts of the game that the average person watching won't get or won't see or won't understand, but they're all big. They're all big. So many standout things. And let me ask you this, Mike. We'll tie this in with the Phillies. You've heard me for a couple of years now, even at our conversation at the end of last year about the Phillies coming into this past season. And I was always talking about having somebody like a stabilizer in their batting order, just somebody that can stabilize it. And I'm going to say Clement, what he did for Toronto, was a tremendous series. You can't expect him to do that all the time. But just a flattened bat, not talking about launch angle with him, line drives, hard ground balls, hard to strike out, uses the whole field. Even when he doesn't move a runner with man on second, nobody out, you can see he's trying, which is a lost art anymore. So you don't want everybody in the batting order to be that guy. You do want some guys that can lift and separate.
Sure.
That's Schwarber. He showed he can do his damage. And I know I've talked good about him since halfway through last year. He's learned now or adjusted so he can actually use the other side of the field with runners in scoring position or behind an account. And such an improvement in his batting average. Raised it about 50 points over the last, several years of his career to enable him to do more damage. But I'd say that I think Dombrowski tried that a couple of years ago with Whit Merrifield. You remember me saying this? Because Whit was that type of a player. He was just at the end of the line. Mm-hmm. So he just didn't do well.
By the way, Whit was one of the guys on Twitter that was defending Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, saying he did exactly what they teach you in spring training, that he did everything right, that you don't get doubled off. It's the last thing you want. Whit Merrifield was one of the guys that was kind of defending him. But you're right. Ernie Clement, 30 hits in the postseason. I think that's a new record, by the way. I think he broke the postseason record. He had 30 hits, but this is a guy who only had 9 homers. He had 277. He had 313 on base. So he's not a third baseman that hits for power. And that's been the thing with Bohm, is everybody's critical of him because he's not a home run. But I say, and I want to get your opinion on this, Dave, Bohm is the whipping boy. He's the one everybody wants to kind of move on from. I said, listen, I know as much as Bohm struggles, he struggles because he hits in a spot in the lineup that he should not be in. If Bohm is hitting where Clement is, 7, 8, you have a great weapon at the bottom of the order. The Phillies need to get Bohm out of the 4-hole, and if that's something they can do this offseason, it's not just replacing Bohm. It's if you keep Bohm, you got to replace him in the 4-hole.
Well, that's a good point. You take a little heat off them. I think when you ask guys to do something they don't do, and I believe that may have either happened with Stott or he tried it on his own. Maybe he looked at salaries and, I can't blame a guy for taking a look at things saying, hey, you hit 220, but if I can hit 15 to 25 home runs, I'm gonna make some bank, and you're raising a family or you're trying to start a family. I mean, that's probably a tough decision for guys when the window to play, if you can get past 5 years, the stats are amazing. There's not many who make it, but then there's even far less who go beyond 5 years at the major league level. So getting there is tough. Staying is even tougher. So these guys are under a lot of pressure. I think that has to come from staff and manager and GM. Again, I'm repeating myself from this time last year. I think it goes a long way if you call guys in and say, look, we want to win a World Series. In order to do it, here's what we believe, that you're all going to have a certain role. You're going to have to fit in to this role. And if you do, you will be highly compensated, and explain the role to them. I think Schwarber's is easy. I'd love to be Kyle Schwarber. Take chances more than everybody else. Take chances. What I mean about take chances, when you get ahead in the count, take a shot at a fastball, and if you get it, it's probably going to go a long way. And if it's a changeup, you swing and miss over the top because you were looking fastball. But a guy like Dave Gallagher, myself, I don't have the right to do that because I'm not going to do enough damage taking that many chances, regardless of the count. My production has to be different. I got to get my bunts down. I got to move runners over, man on second with nobody out. I got to get the guy in from third with less than 2 outs. And I'm not alone. There should be a couple of those guys in the starting lineup, the batting order, who can do that consistently. Because Clement showed up in the World Series, in the playoff period.
Yeah.
Because he knows how to do it. He knows how. He's practiced it. I'm sure his BP would show people, wow, look what he's doing at BP. The whole first round, he hit the ball the other way. Oh, the second round, he tried to lift some balls. He's simulating these situations. And there are going to be guys that take BP that lift and separate the whole damn time. And that shouldn't be 7 out of your 9 guys. I don't think it helps you win games some.
Yeah.
But not when you're facing the arms that you face in the playoffs. Look at those arms, Mike. Look at those arms on both teams.
I wanted to kind of get your take on the way that the Dodgers, they kind of threw the book out the window here. And they just said, you know what, our starters are our best guys. It was almost like they were managing like a high school team. It was like, whose arm's feeling good today? You got 3? Can you give me 4? Can you give me 2? And it was like, all right. I mean, you saw Glasnow close 3, and I threw 3 pitches, but still, he pitched one night, then he came in relief the next. You had Yamamoto. I mean, he was unbelievable the way they had to use him, but the way that they gave their starters a new role in the playoffs.
Pretty smart, I think. If it didn't work out, I think there would have been a lot of complaints and, well, he's not used to coming in out of the pen, but it did work out and it was very successful. I remember talking, a lot of my friends are Phillies fans, right? And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and before the Phillies played the Dodgers, he said, Gal, we got to get their pen. We got to get to their pen.
Mm-hmm.
And if he knew that, that the Dodgers knew it. So they had their plans. They used their pen when they needed to, but they also used their starters when they could. And you don't have another series after it. You go home. So if there's some soreness from not being used to do it, okay, you hope nobody gets injured, of course, but I thought they did a good job with that.
Absolutely.
Well,
you look back, Dave, and you look back. We're talking with Dave Gallagher, 9-year Major League Baseball veteran, played with the Phillies, 1995, Phils, among other teams. But you can look back to the moments where the Phillies could have gone to a Ranger Suarez or a starter, and instead, the one game they go to David Robertson, and then they ask Robertson to sit down and then come back to start the next inning. That move got questioned a lot. Obviously, Kerkering in the end there. I mean, could they have gone to a starting pitcher in that big moment of the biggest moment of that game and said, hey, we're just going to go with our best guy that we got? And I wonder if teams are now going to look to do that more moving forward.
I think in the World Series for sure, because, again, you don't have to play another game after that or win another series, which would really screw up your rotation, I guess. So, but you got to win those games to advance anyway. So I think it's a tough call, and it probably is determined by what kind of depth you have. do you have 5 or 6 usable starters, and one of them can come out of the pen, maybe 2 of them if needed. But yeah, I think that's the personnel that you have and who you're facing. These are some tight games.
They were. Let me quickly. They got free agents. They got to make decisions on a couple things here. Schwarber, you'd bring him back, no questions asked, no matter what the price is.
Boy, I mean, price is always going to enter into it.
Not our money,
I would
right?
want him back. Well, I'd want him back. No, it's not my money, but I would want him back for more than just the power numbers, because he's pretty darn consistent with that. But also, I think he became the leader of the clubhouse, and I don't know if he's vocal, but I think.
No, he's from Illinois, Indiana.
Yeah, he just seems to me like he may have taken over that role. And I'm not slighting Bryce. I'm just saying he's been so consistent. He's been on the field. Well, he's DHing, but he's been in the lineup, I should say, consistently, and he's put up the numbers. And he may have taken over at least a good portion of that role. I'd want him back. I think we're going to lose. I'm saying we, like I'm on the Phillies. I think
you were
Suarez. I think Suarez is probably going to go. And at the time, it's easy to look back and say, well, maybe they should have moved Suarez. If they lose in the free agency, they get nothing. But it's easy to look back and say that now.
What do you do? What do you do with JT Realmuto, a guy who's up there in age, his production's going down, but you don't really have another catcher? That's a tough one.
I think that's going to come down to the staff having that closed door meeting and saying, okay, what are we looking at? Are we going to give this another shot to win a World Series? Are we going to start bringing up our younger guys and developing and knowing we're going to need a lot of things to happen? And if that's the case, where you're going to bring up young talent and let them develop on the fly, facing major league pitching and opposition, then I think JT only comes back for the right price. But if you're going to try, he still pretty much shuts down the opponent's running game.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. He handles the staff. He provides some offense when you compare him to all catchers in the MLB, right? He still provides some offense. He's not the offensive guy that he was a few years ago, but he still put together a pretty decent year offensively. Still in good shape. He catches, maybe you back him off some games, but I think he definitely comes down to, can you get him for a couple of years, or is he going to break the bank? And if he does, I don't blame him.
No, I think
leaving, but
I think I might know where you're going to go here, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because I remember pre-trade deadline, you were a big proponent of getting Harrison Bader. Now he has a mutual option. He will probably decline his end of it, but some people would say, look, he was awesome here. He was exactly what you've been lacking, but he played way above what he has been primarily as a major leaguer. So he wants to cash in on what he did here. Do you take that chance if you're the Phillies and say, we want you back? Or do you say, we got the best out of you, we're going to move on?
Again, I'm going to put this on Dombrowski, because what a decision. Now, I agree with you 100%, Mike. He played better than what I thought. And what I thought they were going to get, I still thought was going to really be helpful, and it was. He provided more power. The defense was well above average. I'm using that word stabilize a lot, but he stabilized the outfield. In center, he stabilized it. And it didn't take long for them to figure out he's not a platoon guy. He's an everyday player. So, again, if the price is right, I'd love to see the Phillies keep him. And what would make me lean towards keeping him if I'm in Dombrowski's shoes is I ask myself, worst case scenario, what are we getting? And I still think defense is not going to slump. He still has speed. He's got some pop. So even in a down year or a so-so year, he helps you. Just compare him to what you're getting out of Rojas. Yeah. I hate putting down another athlete. And maybe Rojas will get better with more seasoning. That happens. I didn't make it till I was 27. I just played too anxious when I first came up. And then all of a sudden I hit over 300 my first full year. Like it happened. And I didn't see a hitting guru. It was just all of a sudden I relaxed and realized, hey, I can do this at this level.
Yeah.
So it might happen for him, but right now I think Bader would be a good keep if they can get him.
All right, you looked at the Dodgers. They're an older team, and, they've won twice. The Phillies have not. But if you're the Phillies, do you say, listen, we've taken 3-4 shots with this core. We got to make major changes, or do you say, you know what, keep this group together, bring as many guys back as you can, and just tweak here and there?
I don't know if I'd be looking to bring as many guys back. I think it will come down to who you can get within reason for free agency. But I think there maybe should be a blend now. Like, you got to look at what the Eagles are doing. I mean, they just signed 3 guys because they had draft picks. They had capital. So, if you've got some young guys that you can bring up and they show well, now you have some capital to make a move. If you hang in there, you can make a move later in the season. That's a difference maker. So I think their rotation, even with Suarez, if he leaves, I think they're pretty well set. Help me with this, but you got Wheeler.
Yep.
You got Sanchez.
Wheeler's probably going to miss a little while, but yes.
Yeah, and then Luzardo and Nola. And I'm assuming they're going to take a good look at Painter.
Yep.
So if they do that and Suarez leaves, that's not a bad rotation. And you're right. Hopefully Wheeler can be healthy early.
I've heard good things about Wheeler. I've heard some encouraging that he's on a good path here. But, it all starts very soon. Guys are opting out. Alex Bregman, he just opted out. So we'll see if the Phillies try to make a big play like that. Pete Alonso, a right-handed bat. We know they need to go down that direction. Is there a big trade? That's what makes the offseason fun. But you just mentioned Painter, Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford, some of the younger guys, because I thought one of the stories, too, they brought up the kid Yasavage from single A.
Right.
He pitched 3 games, Dave, and they not only saw him for 3 games, they put him on the postseason roster and then pitched him in game 1.
Crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah, it was.
How would it be to be his dad? Like, in watching those games, you're happy, but you're nervous as hell.
Yep.
Right. This is a young kid, and man, did he was thrown right into the fire.
22 years old. He's 20. By the way, 22 years old. He was pitching in Dunedin at the start of the year. I said to my buddy, I said, man, he looks like a young Tommy Green, man.
Yeah, you're right. Good. That's a good comparison right there. Can I spend 20 seconds on Kirkring?
Yeah. Yep.
Just on that situation, from one human being about another human being, a little bit of empathy. I felt horrible. I know we all did. And I've been asked, do you think he can come back from that? And my answer is yes, because it wasn't a pitch. It was a defensive play. And I've seen, like, for whatever reason, pitchers throw so many pitches, right? They so many pitches in games and the bullpen. And think about how many times you've seen a ball back to the mound with a runner on first. They turn to throw to second and they throw it into center field, or they're throwing from 25 feet away to the first baseman and they throw it over his head or in the dirt. They're not used to making those throws. I know they do the PFPs and spring training until you're sick of it. But I'm feeling for this young kid. I know he's got a really good arm. I think he'll only get better on the mound, and I hope the Phillies fans will accept him. I know they will. That's all. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on him. You know what I mean?
They need him. They need him. He's a young guy that has a great arm. I hope he learns how to. I feel like he still needs to learn how to pitch. Still, he's still like a thrower. I feel like he doesn't trust all of his stuff at all times, and hopefully he, kind of continues to develop. Dave Gallagher, everybody, a baseball season in the books. And, of course, he was a part of it all season here on the Sports Bash as we took a look at the World Series and the offseason ahead for the Philadelphia Phillies. Dave, I always enjoy the conversation.
Mike, one more thing. Don't give up on the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to come back somehow, some way.
I'll keep an eye on them for you.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Take care. Dave Gallagher, everybody, 9-year Major League Baseball veteran, played with the Phillies, 1995, amongst other teams, the Angels, the Mets, Orioles, White Sox. He's been all over, played with some great, great players. When we come back, Grayson's grades for the trades. What does he think about the trades the Eagles made and what it'll help do for them moving forward? Find out next, plus another chance for 99 bottles. Listen for that sounder going off in about a half an hour from now. More Sports Bash coming up. Yeah, but it's still time for Grayson's Grades. They're brought to you by Bridgeton Auto Mall. Are you ready to score your next big drive? Head straight for the end zone at Bridgeton Auto Mall. Scott Grayson grades the Eagles trades. He joins us now on the Sports Pass Live 97.3 ESPN. As everybody woke up this morning, there was a new edge rusher in town, Scott Grayson. Jaelan Phillips is here. It's a third-round pick that heads to Miami. The team just made it official, putting that out on their social media platform. So Phillips is here. How would you grade this deal and how he fits in with this Philadelphia Eagles team?
I'm excited to see how he fits in. I think he'll fit in pretty nicely. You got to believe they're not doing this deal unless Vic Fangio feels really comfortable, really good about the player they're getting, because he knows him from having been there in Miami before he came here to Philadelphia to be the defensive coordinator last season. So, I don't think this deal happens unless Vic really wants it to happen. I think Vic had his eyes on Jaelan Phillips as a guy who could be another one of those high motor guys to add here. And they're just getting right. They're getting healthy, and they're adding some depth now to that defensive line that I give Howie credit. I mean, he's made 3 moves in the last week that he had to make. They had to get better at DB, and they had to get better on the edge at the edge rusher position. So they've done that, and that's where I think Brandon Graham fits as a depth piece. And Jaelan Phillips is going to be a great piece to add in there. Whether he'll be up and running and ready to go out there and do his thing a week from tonight in Green Bay, I think he'll get up to speed and be able to play a role in that game and kind of gradually get in there. But I like the move. I give Howie for all 3 moves. I give him an A- at this point. I think he addressed needs, but we'll see how these pieces fit in, how they evolve and adapt into Vic Fangio's defense and the roles that they play.
Scott Grayson from Fox 29. Grayson's grades after every Eagles game at 97.3 ESPN.com. Yeah, get Jaelan Phillips in here. I mean, he's not Myles Garrett. He's not Trey Hendrickson. He's not, T.J. Watt. He's not quite on that level, but is this a big enough move that takes the Eagles defense from a, pretty good defense to a very good defense to put them on the level of where they were, where you had Josh Sweat last year?
Yeah, that'll remain to be seen, obviously. I think it could. Now, and the reason why I think it helps is because getting better on the D-line in so many ways. It's really multiple layers to it. And everything starts with Jalen Carter. He's getting healthier. He was getting healthier in that Giant game, and we saw the effect that had. They had 5 sacks in that game. So I expect that as Jalen Carter gets healthier and coming out of the bye, you expect him to be, perhaps back to 100%, which this team hasn't had from him pretty much all season long. So I think that's a big key. And then you add some of these guys in there like a Jaelan Phillips. You're going to get Nolan Smith back at some point. Whether he'll be ready for next Monday night, bears watching. Perhaps he will be. But you're going to mix in, Brandon Graham. You got Jalix Hunt still in there. Moro Jomo. I think, all these guys are going to be better because they're going to be asked to do a little less, making more, having more quality reps and more quality snaps as opposed to trying to get more volume out of some of them and where they might wear down a little bit. But again, I think it all starts with Jalen Carter up front in that middle that makes everybody else better. And him being healthy will help all these guys be better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any downside to this move. In fact, Scott, the one thing is if the move doesn't work out, I mean, you essentially recoup the pick back. I mean, the comp pick you would get for losing him is also a third-round pick, which is what you gave up to get him. So this is a true, take a shot and see if he changes the pass rush for this team. Because it is something that they need pass rushing-wise. They also made a trade on Saturday to get Jaire Alexander, who, listen, I think if you looked at the offseason, many people were, hopeful that the Eagles could have got him to replace Darius Slay. Now, it has not worked out. He has not been very good. He's been a healthy scratch for the most part. Do you see this move making an impact at all?
Yeah, again, I think all these picks, you kind of summed it up there with the Jaelan Phillips one, they're not – they're pretty low risk, high reward kind of moves. They didn't have to give up a lot to get them, but they are pieces that come in and I think are better than what they've had. Jaire Alexander's a guy who's going to come in here looking to prove something. And I think that's great for this team. He's a guy who went from a situation in Baltimore that was not a team that was sitting at number 1 in their conference like the Eagles are now. So this is a program, that has won. He comes in now and he gets to play a role here where he hasn't been able to do that in Baltimore right now. He's going to be healthy. He hasn't really been nicked up because he hasn't been playing there in Baltimore much. So I think you're bringing in a guy who's got a lot to prove, who's going to be hungry, who's going to come into a locker room where there's a need and a place where they could see him coming in here and making some plays. And he's going to also come in, and perhaps his first game with this team is going to be against one of his former teams. So, again, you're talking about wanting to prove something, wanting to go out there and show even the Packers that, he's still got some stuff in the tank. So, I think these were all really high reward moves that could be if they pan out. And if they don't, look, you're no really worse for the wear than what you had. You still have those pieces here. I just got to think that if you can get the defensive line better, you're going to make that secondary better because, maybe they don't have to cover as long, which I think this secondary needs. They need a pass rush to be able to keep some of those guys from having to be out there for as long. Now, what does this do for Cooper DeJean? With the move of Michael Carter or, with the pieces they brought in here, what does Cooper DeJean do? Is he going to move outside? Is he going to be inside? Is he going to play a little bit of a hybrid role? I think there's a lot of questions that will be fun to watch as the Eagles come out of the bye to see how these guys fit in and what it does to the rest of the defense.
Scott Grayson grades the Eagles' trades, and so far it seems like we like all the deals. The Jaire Alexander, he's more of a name at this point. I mean, he's been pretty much a non-factor for the Ravens, but we'll see, does he provide competition and push some of the guys they got? Michael Carter, who they got, how do they use him? Do they like Cooper DeJean on the outside? Do they want to keep Cooper DeJean on the inside? I think that's going to be an interesting thing when they get out on the practice field on Thursday.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to watch as people who want to scroll through social media see some of the reporters, some of us doing our jobs and commenting on what the Eagles are trying to do. Now, we're not able to stay out there and watch very much, so I don't know that we're going to learn a whole lot before Monday night. But yeah, it sounds like Michael Carter will end up working more on the inside and be able to be a depth piece in there, perhaps in some really big passing downs. That's where he'll go. I think the Eagles have been itching to get Cooper DeJean outside a little bit. I think Cooper wants to play outside. I mean, look, there's more money in that position outside than there is inside when Cooper starts working towards his next contract. But, I think it will be interesting to watch. You mentioned competition. I think these two additions in the secondary do help bring in competition. Everybody who's been in there that's going to be in that room is looking around at these two new guys thinking, man, they're here to take some time from me. I got to work harder to be able to get out there again. And I think it does make them better. It's going to I think competition does create, great things from around the room. But the problem that the Eagles have right now, and this is where you want to keep watching what Howie does, is these additions and guys are going to be activating that have been injured are going to push them over the number 53 active guys that there's still going to be some shoes to fall here to see what the Eagles do over the next day or two.
No doubt. And that's the big thing, Scott, is what does this do for Jahad Campbell? He's a guy that now he was getting some snaps as an edge rusher. Is that kind of gone? What does this do for Kaylee Ringo? Is he still the guy there when they come back? Is that an open competition? Don't forget Ja'Cory and Bennett. So they do have a lot of things that I think you got to, when they get back to practice on Thursday, you're going to have your eye on, okay, who's at edge? Who's getting those snaps? Who's at corner? Who's getting those snaps? Where is Cooper DeJean? Where is Jahad Campbell? There is a lot of things, and it's all centered around this defense.
Yeah, it is, but I think one guy to keep an eye on, too, could be an A.J. Dillon. I mean, Tank Bigsby came out in that Giants game, and A.J. Dillon was active, but he never came in. It was Tank Bigsby and Will Shipley. So what role does A.J. Dillon have? Is he a guy who could also find himself not, really maintaining on this roster? Is he a guy that Howie might try to get something for?
He's a good. That's a good name because I brought up earlier is I think Howie will try now to recoup a pick or two, and Dillon's not a name that I even thought of, but could he try to trade A.J. Dillon? Could he try to trade Dory Jackson? How about Josh Uche? Some of these veteran players where other teams, need some pass rush. Okay, I'll give you a guy that we don't really need anymore. So that'll be an interesting thing too.
Yeah, it will. And as you pointed out, I mean, they still have. This is where Howie stocks up draft picks for this purpose. And even though they've made some moves and gotten rid of some draft picks to acquire players, they're still set up to have a very solid draft, perhaps, next year. And what he's doing is he's flipping some of these picks that they're going to get compensatory picks for guys that they lost last year, like a Josh Sweat, a Milton Williams, and he's not waiting till he receives them. He's willing to start getting rid of some picks, knowing those picks are going to be coming in. And this is where I think we've seen a little bit of an evolution in Howie Roseman. I mean, back before, this is not stuff Howie used to really do, but he really understands the game. They were willing to give up a third-round pick, a little bit more for Jaelan Phillips, because then they didn't have to eat as much of the money. The Dolphins are eating some of that cost for his salary for the rest of this season as well. And when you look at him, this is a guy who is a candidate for the Eagles to potentially look to sign and keep longer term down the road if he can come in here and produce. He's only 26 years old. So I think this is a way that we've seen Howie really evolve.
No doubt about it. And I think, one of the things Roseman said, we laugh because he said, I bleed for this city. But he did say back in training camp, I'll do whatever it takes to try to help this team win. So did he do what it takes? They need an edge rusher? Did they need depth at corner or more competition at corner? He still has another day to try to do something. Does he still need to do more, or is this team a finished product?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that I would call it a finished product yet because I want to see how these guys perform. But I'd be shocked if Howie's not sitting there picking up the phone, curious and testing to see if he can and maybe get one more guy. I mean, I thought he was going to be on the hot for a guy like a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett. But the asking price for those guys is a lot higher. And now you start talking about a higher risk to try to get a high reward. We know those players are talented. They certainly could come in and do a job. I'm not sold on the fact that he isn't still trying to see if he can get one of them or get the price to drop a little bit. But I don't expect that anymore. I don't expect him to give up first-round picks. Those are so valuable to this team and what they've brought in over the last few drafts when you look at who those first-round picks have been and you try to put a name to say a pick. So I'm not sold that he's completely done. He is Howie. We know he's going to work those phones all the way up to the last second. But did he do enough? I think he did. I think he did enough to create some competition, as we talked about. This team's where they want to be. They're sitting right now as the number one seed in the NFC halfway through the season. But they're trending in the right direction. But, November's a big month, man. When you look at this schedule and what they've got ahead of them, even just the next 2 weeks, at Green Bay, home against Detroit, I think we're going to learn a lot about what these moves did for this team, including the addition of a Brandon Graham and getting a Nolan Smith back. I think this defense is going to start to look a lot better.
It's funny because you mentioned the Brandon Graham move, and it's almost like now that move allows him to kind of be more of locker room guy, sideline presence. I don't have to go out and hey, if I get 10 snaps and I get a little pressure, but you almost looked at it before. It's like, how are they going to use him? Are they going to use him for 20 snaps, 15? Now it's almost like, hey, he's in here, his infectious energy, because now we got Jaelan Phillips. So I would like to see, by the way, what does it mean for Jalix Hunt? I think that's going to be interesting moving forward as well. We'll see it all unfold. It all starts on Tuesday when they're back on the practice field for Monday Night Football. It's the Eagles and the Packers, and you can listen to that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. We're in the month of November. Scott Grayson is back with Grayson's Grades next week right here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, buddy.
All right, you got it, Mike. Take care.
There's Scott Grayson, Fox 29 and 97.3 ESPN.com. He grades the Eagles' performance after every Eagles game. All right, when we come back, we're getting ready to wrap up tonight's show, and we got another 99 bottles opportunity for you. When you hear that sounder go off, be the right caller, caller number 7, as always, and you are in for this year's 99 bottles. We're live at the Fanatic Sportsbook on 97.3 ESPN. There we go, the 99 Bottles Contest Sounder. It's your last chance today to enter to win a pair of tickets to go see the Eagles and Commanders at the Link Club Box. Seats, tickets to see the Flyers, the Sixers, concert tickets, and many, many more. We'll have 99 pair of tickets for you at Maynard's and Margate. You must be present to win. Here's the number. Caller 7-609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7 right now. You are entered for this year's 99 Bottles Party. 99 qualifiers, 99 pair of tickets, 99 winners. You know who was a big winner today, Peachy?
Me.
My girlfriend's in Vegas right now
okay.
at the Bellagio. She just hit a big slot. I don't think she's coming home. See you tomorrow, everybody.